All right. And we are live with you
Scrapjaw.
are Scrapjaw. Yeah. First one in the game tonight, man.
I came in hacker style. I went to just just putting stuff in the field at the peer.in. Like, I wonder if I can get in before the show
Yeah.
starts.
Zeb, what's going on, man?
Hiya, how's you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm off of work and home and relaxing talking to you, so all is good.
Good, good. Just had to check my microphone was working.
It's working, brother.
Good, good. So what's the topic of subject this evening?
Well, we got a couple topics, and Solus is always at the top of it.
Ike's a crafty one, he is.
He is. He is. And this new release has so much in it, man. My gosh.
I've been watching that.
It has so much in it. You know, like I tried to get him on Destination Linux this week, and he was going to come on, but we couldn't work out the scheduling because of the time difference and everything. But hopefully I can get him next week. But I was going to ask him, like, what is the headline feature of the Budgie release or the Solus release, because there's so much stuff there. I mean, I guess it's the snaps, ain't the snap support?
Is that a? Oh, that's right, because he was doing flat packs at first, and he was like, nah, not the other one. So he's finally gone there, huh?
He's finally gone there and reversed his decision. I think it's a good decision myself, but
It would be if there was anything usable in snaps. I mean, if you had a look at them, they're all tiny little nothing applications. I've never seen a big application in there yet.
They're great for Raspberry Pi.
actually, who was talking in the Telegram group about GIMP was now snapped.
Oh, really?
Yep. Not that you would need to use it. I mean, I don't think GIMP is something you would need to use as a snap, because
No, because
it's
it's
to
in
be
most.
sandboxed or anything. But
Yeah, it's in most repos anyway, GIMP, isn't it?
yeah,
And I think
But
somebody said to me Chromium had been done, but that's virtually available in everything.
well, I think as it grows and it gets adopted everywhere, you're going to have more and more snaps. It's going to take time to grow that store, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people don't even agree with the whole snaps philosophy being a central store. You know, they want to, like Flatpaks is like an open type situation, and snaps is curated by Canonical. So, you have different viewpoints on it, but there he is. Alan, what's going on?
Hi, I thought it was an hour later than it was.
It's
Evening,
not.
Alan.
It's right now, dude.
But I mean, you say people are against universal open apps, but Etcher seems to have taken off quite well.
Well,
And you can use that anywhere.
You'll have I think Etcher's pretty much awesome. I mean, I still use DD just for safety's sake. I use it in the terminal. But Etcher's an awesome app. I just don't think there's a lot of people out there that don't care for the whole app image type thing. They don't want anything like that. So, I don't know.
I've never used DD. I've kept away from it because it's too dangerous to make a mistake and suddenly your partition's gone.
Well, as long as you do G, you're fine. I always do G, SDG. But, yeah. As a matter of fact, who did that? Who did that recently?
Was it the guy who runs OpenSUSE or something?
No, it was on Late Night Linux. Jesse. Jesse did that with he was trying to write Pop! OS to the USB drive, and he actually wrote it to his SDA.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yep. That's a dangerous thing, but like I said, as long as you do G, you're fine.
There was a time I would go into my and unplug SATA cables
Yeah.
and only have drives. I'd be like, I don't want to destroy all my stuff.
Well, I have, I think, seven drives in this thing, and I so
Yeah.
want to take the time to... Carmine, what's going on? I so want to take the time for what Michael had said, Rotten, who had said about getting the bays with the power switches so I can turn them off and not have to worry about anything, because I don't really use them except for certain specific instances. So... But you got to have the time and the money for that too. So, and I don't know if that's a foolproof plan either. It sounds
because if you turn the wrong one off or you forget which drive's in which bay, it's always a tricky one when you've got multiple drives and multiple partitions.
Just get a label maker.
Well, somebody said in chat that on Solus this seems to be taking forever to install Chrome. And that's one of those third-party apps.
Did he drop out for anyone else?
Who? Me? No, I think it's your connection, man.
It is.
Your connection was so good last week, dude. What happened?
I know, I'm surprised.
But Solus still has trouble with third-party apps. And that is the one downfall that I see when I put it on the test drive. It ran great as far as... everything that was running on it and installing software. But the third-party software, I mean, I tried to install Sublime Text and it just sat there. It sat there for 10 minutes and just spun and spun and spun. And then I tried to install NPass the same way, third-party app, and it just sat there and spun and spun and spun. I was like...
Well, there's a trick that I use. Sorry, there's a trick that I use to get Google Chrome to install every single time.
And what's that?
Go to the third-party apps and install it.
Yep.
After 5 minutes, shut down third-party apps, open it up again, install it, and 5 minutes later it's done. Don't know why, but it works every single time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, give it a whirl.
Well, I
don't know
that
what it is.
I know that Chrome gave me trouble installing it before on Solus, so I didn't try that because I didn't have a whole lot of time. I had limited time, so I was trying to, like, the reason I picked Sublime Text was because I was trying to install something that was, like, you know, easy to install, maybe small, you know, not, and it just kept spinning. So there's still work for that.
Maybe Solus is just plain soulless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ike is a ginger. Right.
Well, it's his new haircut. That's what it is.
That's pretty rad, I must admit.
That's right. All right. So who tried Solus so far? Anybody? Besides me?
Not
the latest one. The latest one. Solus 3.
Solus 3. Yeah.
I have not.
So what do you think of it, Zeb?
I never go really deep into what things can do. Yeah, I just need an OS to install. Give me Google Chrome. Give me a couple of other apps. Allow me to play my Steam games, and it works perfectly well. What he's done with the panels up and down, him moving stuff out of his little sidebar application, don't care. As long as I can get to the things I want to work,
right?
They work great. So I'm not very good at reviewing software. All I can say is whether it was easy to install. Did the NVIDIA drivers work? Has it crashed? Does my Steam games give me 60 frames a second? And as long as it can do all of that, and Solus does that with ease, for me it works. It's
so
one of the ones
my
that's
question
stay
is,
on
would you run it?
Say again?
Would you run it?
I am running it. I've got well, I say I'm running it. Obviously, Peppermint's always going to be my main puppy, but when I get bored with Peppermint, I've got 5 others that I jump to, and Solus is one of those.
Nice. I'm telling you, I'm waiting. I just got a message from and maybe he'll be on tonight, Chuck. He sent me of how he installed Zoom on Solus, because obviously you can't just install it, and he was able to get it running on Solus. So if I can do that, man, I'm probably going to switch over as my daily driver. Alan, did you try it?
Oh, of course I did. You know
Rust
me.
Alan again.
I didn't
It
just
must be the
try it.
ski
I
bug. It
wiped my
picks on
main
someone every
partition
week.
and
Last week
tried
it was Colin Brash.
because why not?
Now it's
Um,
Alan. I've just
I
got a
didn't
black
actually
box where
start with
Alan
the
should
budgie
be.
version. I started with the gnome version, which is something weird for me because I love budgie so much.
So come on, you've jumped in pretty quick, and
Snaps,
Ubuntu
they're
Mate.
working. I'm sure everyone knows this by now, but
Yes.
they're working well.
Yes, I did.
I was actually very pleased about that. Budgie settings menu, super cool. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot more cohesive. It's a lot more intuitive. The new theme, not everybody's pleased about it because material design. Some people aren't a fan, but I think for something coming out of the box, it's a really good look. I don't know. I just don't want to fanboy over it, but it's great.
It is really great. I have to say.
So looks
Zeb,
look good.
Zeb, you can't hear him, but he is talking. So just so you know.
Yeah, he's just come back online somehow. Yeah.
I've broken everything again.
I did pick Ubuntu Mate as my Linux distro of the year. I was testing the newest Alpha 2. I put it as a full install of my Toshiba test machine. It had Vista on it. That's how outdated it was.
Oh
But
my
you know,
gosh.
yeah. Toshiba Satellite M305. You want to look it up. I bought it used, less than $100. It's got scratches here and there, but it works. It turns on, it works. 4 gigs of RAM. I figure it'd be plenty. Installed the Alpha 2. I think Rocco, you tested it. And I thought you liked it, or
Yes.
so far, or some.
Yeah.
I took a chance. I did a full install, even Alpha 2, and I'm very, very impressed with it. Look, I've always liked the Mate because of its simplicity. Now, I just finished up a live stream about an hour ago. Somebody said, but it's only August. Why are you picking it now? Well, it's an Alpha 2. So by the time the new one comes out in October, I'm assuming it'll get better. So that's why I just chose it as my Linux, at least in the top 5. But for beginners, definitely number 1. So,
Yep.
it just works, or most of it. I know it's an Alpha 2. Martin Wimpress posted a comment on it, and he's very, very nice fella, very kind. But I did an interview with him 2 summers ago, and I thought the best was yet to come. But so far with Ubuntu Mate, it works. What can I say? Even for an alpha. So I'm very happy with it. Now, some may say, well, why are you picking that? There's other choices out there. Yes, there are. Ultimately, use what works for you. In the end, that's the best distro, whether it's Solus, Elementary, Ubuntu Mate, GNOME. But after 10 years of testing different Linuxes and 7 years of doing YouTube, it all comes down in the end to what works out of the box and all the software I need to do what I like to do. And Ubuntu Mate just works. It just works. It's not slick. It's not fancy, but it's not meant to be. So for me, at this point in the game of Linux, versus Windows or whatever, Ubuntu Mate, Linux Mate, it just works. But sure, there are choices out there. Kubuntu and KDE Neon looks pretty good, but in terms of stability in the long term, I think once it gets out of alpha, beta, and final release, I think Ubuntu Mate will be pretty solid, because I know Martin Wimpress will do a terrific job. He created that OS for his wife, by the way, so I know it's going to work. So yeah, it's my Linux distro of the year. Number 1 for beginners and probably top 5 overall in general, as far as, Linux-based operating systems. So, now somebody asked me about, will Ubuntu GNOME be a disaster once it comes out? I don't know. Rocco, you use GNOME, so you can probably answer that maybe better.
It's not going to be a disaster. I mean,
I don't think so either.
Look, you're going to have people that like GNOME, and you're going to have people that don't like GNOME. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to have Canonical put out something that's going to be a complete disaster. The only people that are going to call it a disaster are the people that don't like GNOME already.
Don't like it in the first place.
Yeah, they would never use it anyway, so they're not going to like it when it comes out. Simple as that.
I just don't think it's for beginners, at least not out of the box. Now, that may change, because I know they've been doing polls for default extensions, default apps, and that may change, Rocco, and that'd be great. Yeah,
I
but
think that GNOME itself, vanilla GNOME, is not for beginners because it doesn't have any functionality or anything. But
exactly.
you have to add the extensions in order to get that. So whether
Exactly.
beginners, it depends on what kind of a beginner you're talking about, whether they can install extensions or not. If they can, if they're that capable, then yeah, it could be for beginners. If it's somebody brand new, no, they're probably not.
For a
It'd be better
newbie,
with
no.
it would be better with
Yeah.
Ubuntu Mate. So
Yeah, not for a
The
newbie,
thing
no. Yeah.
that gets me
Well,
about
that's like the old divide of GNOME 2 to GNOME 3, where they went from the old paradigm to the new setup.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, when
Yep.
Unity first came out in 2011, 2012, that's when GNOME 3 came out. I had to choose which one I wanted to use to make these videos. And between the two, clearly Unity was a lot easier than GNOME. With Unity, there was no extensions to install. It just either it worked or it didn't work out of the box. But of course, now Unity is pretty much officially gone from Canonical. And that's it. So, but
So what extensions must you have before GNOME is workable? Because surely you can install it, you can open up a web browser, you can get to your email, you can get to your file manager.
that dash to dock, legacy icons, Rocco, you have it. I think 8 more.
One's called KDE Plasma.
That's not an
yeah.
extension, Michael.
My favorite extension is
Sorry.
Mate. Gotcha, but no.
see, I'm on the other end of that kind of spectrum. When I install something with GNOME, the only thing I really enable is the user themes and the removable drive menu for the top. That's pretty much about all I do.
Well, for me, I have to have certain extensions. So,
I like Dash to Panel.
like Dash to Dock is a must for me. But that is,
Yeah.
and you said you like Dash to Panel, so it depends on what kind of a user you are. If you're a dock user, you may want to go with Dash to Dock. If you're a traditional person with a traditional menu, you want to go with, Dash to Panel. But, okay, Zeb, you asked, what do I need as far as workable? I don't need anything that makes it, okay, I do. I need one or two that make it workable, but I enjoy other ones like making the panel transparent. Top Icons Plus I have to have, because that takes those icons all the way down in the left and puts them where they're supposed to be, up in the taskbar. So I have to have that. Places, that's something that's got to be added.
So that's just tweaking it because of the way you like it, because you've been using Linux for 10 years
No. It's because the default GNOME is terrible.
But if you're
Hey,
a new
Rocco.
Linux user,
And
you
that's
want
true.
to be different.
He is
That's
right. The default
technically
number is
true.
terrible.
I don't think anybody doesn't install at least one extension.
Yeah.
At least one.
It's too light. It's too stripped.
Yeah, it's stripped because
Yeah.
there's so many things that and also some of the things that are there that are terrible, like the stupid tray icon on the tray menu on the bottom left. That's just worthless.
Yeah, that's
I don't
why
think
you need Top Icons Plus to get rid of that.
Rocco, I've got a solution for you. You're going to love it.
What?
Budgie 10.4.
I'm telling you, dude.
It's got everything
I
you
can't switch unless I can get Zoom working in Solus.
need. Yeah.
Okay? I
see
have
what
to
you
have
mean.
Zoom for the podcast, so
Well, if they make
if
a
I
snap,
can get, huh?
they make a snap, you can.
Well, if somebody would help me make it, because I am not intelligent or talented enough to make a snap yet.
Well, I mean, you
So-
need their binaries and stuff to make the snap work, but snap is actually not hard to make. It's just you got to know the ins and outs of how to do it, because it's basically just a config file.
Tom?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I don't know if my settings are set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
we
works.
got you.
No, we're good. You're good.
But
Yeah.
as far as like a non-trolly answer for the GNOME thing is, there are many things that make GNOME not as usable depending on the person. Someone who's brand new to Linux, there are a lot of things that make GNOME not that usable. But as far as like overall, if you're comfortable with Linux, you're not going to have that big of a problem. But like the lack of a menu, like an applications menu.
Yep.
GNOME makes one their own, but it's not on by default. You have to turn it on. So things like that is what's going to make it a necessity for people who are just getting to Linux. Which to say, Ubuntu's already going to do those things.
So what happens when you press the super key on a bog standard GNOME desktop? Where does it
It
take
opens
you?
the overview.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go to the menu. So you
No.
just gives you the search bar.
Right.
So you would have no idea what was installed as such.
Right.
Right.
It helps in no way. It opens the overview so the windows kind of like go in this grid. Then it shows the dash on the left, or the dash on the left in the panel, or the workspace dash on the other side, and that's it. And a little
It's
search box at the
definitely,
top.
definitely not for
garbage.
beginners. That's for
And
sure.
then you have to hit the button to get to your programs.
Mhm.
So
Oh, they also don't specify that you need to. That actually is a requirement to get to stuff. There is a thing in the top left that you can click it, but people are expecting that to be a menu. That just opens the overview as well, and it doesn't identify what it is. There's also the top left hot corner that people don't like. So there's a lot of defaults that are awkward for people who are just getting into Linux.
So the hope is Canonical are going to fix this.
Well, they've already described the things they're doing. Like they're changing a lot of stuff. They don't like a lot of things that GNOME does, and they are improving it, adding extensions. They're going to make it look like the Ubuntu theme style. They're going to do a lot that's potentially useful.
So what
That's
do
what
you
I
think is
figured,
the biggest thing they're going to do to make it, like what's the headlining thing they're going to do to make it better?
They're not changing enough to make it really matter to say anything like that. They're just doing like dash to dock, applications menu, moving the, adding a minimize close button, putting them on the right side of the window.
Make it look like Unity.
Not exactly. A Unity hybrid with GNOME probably, but they're doing
Is
The
the
dash to
GNOME,
dock always
GNOME
being-
edition going to work as well?
do what?
Is the GNOME edition going to be still
No, it's
available as well?
It's gone.
Oh, it's gone.
That's a kicker for me, because I know a lot of people that install the Ubuntu GNOME flavor because they like that just mostly stock GNOME install. I feel like dissolving that while also implementing their own modified version kind of alienates some people.
This is an improper opinion of what the official flavors are. Canonical doesn't make a Ubuntu GNOME. They never did.
No.
So they're not dissolving anything. It was up to the people in the Ubuntu GNOME team whether they wanted to switch over or not. Whether they wanted to become part of the Ubuntu project, or does the Canonical want to make their own? And the Ubuntu GNOME team said yes.
Know about all of these changes before they made that decision, right? That was kind of like we'll work together towards this.
They're a part of it.
Okay.
It's not like they just took over and are now controlling
No.
GNOME. The Ubuntu GNOME team is a
that
part
makes
of the
sense.
Ubuntu desktop team now.
Right.
But the influence is massive.
Yeah.
It's
But I don't
almost
see how that's a
impossible to
problem.
say that Canonical didn't take over.
When someone says, "Here, this is what we're going to do. Would you like to be a part of what we're going to do or not?" You don't go, "Well, are you going to finance everything and we have control of absolutely everything and you have no say whatsoever?" Probably not. I mean, they kind of expected the Canonical to have some input. I would assume.
And I would say it's more than some. I reckon it's about 80%.
Because it's kind of like
That's
wouldn't it be-
arbitrary, pulling out your butt numbers, man.
Exactly, yeah.
It's opinion. That's what it is.
It's an
And that's
opinion,
allowed.
but it's based upon experience when other companies have taken over other companies.
But you can't reference another company about how Canonical does things. Like that's like people saying that just because Microsoft does something, that means Canonical's going to do something.
No. But business is business. I've yet to know a company take over another company and not take a majority share in what's going to happen.
Right. Well,
I
this
have
is
an
a
example.
company who is voluntarily joining a community group based on the community groups also volunteering to do it, and it's not a company takeover of any other company. It is a mutual voluntary action based on both sides.
I think that what they're getting at is that Canonical is huge, and they're like, hey, we're just going to use GNOME now. And then there's this GNOME project, and they look at this big company. It's like, oh, now this huge company's doing it. What are we doing? We might as well just go join their team. Kind of.
No, they were offered to have a bunch of GNOME.
Of course they were. Of course they were.
So there's.
But if you're a little group of guys and you're sitting there doing your thing, it's like, well, we might as well.
It's one of those things where they were given an offer they couldn't refuse.
There.
Make enough that you can refuse.
It's
Exactly.
not explicit. It's implicit.
Yeah, but I don't see that as a problem.
It's not a problem. It's just observation.
Well, it's not a problem for somebody who doesn't care about GNOME, but if you want a GNOME distribution, like, okay, if I ran the GNOME edition all the time and I liked it that way, then it would be a problem. I don't really care that much because I'm just going to make it the way I want it anyway. But if I ran it the way it was and now I couldn't have that option anymore, I would be upset.
So what are the options for that community now? Do they look at Ubuntu and they just get an update now? They just update their repos, or do they have to go to a new distro to get further update? How's that going to happen?
I don't know how they're going to handle the upgrade path.
I wasn't listening, so I have know what the question's about.
The upgrade path for the Ubuntu GNOME independent versus the now canonical.
Will that just automatically upgrade?
It takes over the Ubuntu spot.
Yeah,
So
but
as
that
far
takes
as,
over
like-
the Unity spot. But does that
But
take
no.
over the Ubuntu GNOME spot as well?
Yes and no. Like, are they going to provide a path for upgrade from one to the other? Probably, but they haven't said. I would bet they probably would, just because they'd want to provide, not let the people just, linger in limbo.
Yeah, but the old GNOME repos will now just become canonical repos, Ubuntu repos.
I mean, there were
Yeah.
already canonical Ubuntu repos in general, but like, if you're saying like they are going to be,
They're going to be bored.
yes, they're going to become
assimilated.
the release sequence that they have done for there is switching to the
Be
Ubuntu
assimilated.
sequence, and like it's a confusing
More or
question
less.
because the Ubuntu GNOME the Ubuntu GNOME pat repos were already a part of the infrastructure of Canonical.
Oh well.
So you're saying is it wouldn't be that difficult for them to just say, oh, hey, we're just going to take over this. We're going to assimilate you in. It's kind of like unforking.
I mean, not necessarily, but because they're not really a fork anyway. But like the repo, the infrastructure. Do you know how the infrastructure works of the official flavors?
Explain
Not
it,
necessarily.
because I'm
Okay.
sure some of us don't know.
Canonical funds the infrastructure for all official flavors. All of the packages are on the Canonical servers. They
Okay.
maintain the packages as far as like keeping them in security check. But there is also the team where they make the packages and make sure that they fit the security check. So GNOME, the Ubuntu GNOME packages are just joining the same team that they were already working with.
Oh, okay. So they're just merging the project, probably.
Yeah,
since
the
they already
infrastructure
have them
doesn't really
together.
change, like the location of the server.
That makes sense.
Like everything was already on Launchpad.
Launchpad
Well-
confuses me.
Rose
That's
had a
because
question in the
Launchpad
chat.
is a mess.
Rose had a question in the chat. What happens to the software in the repository with the new direction of Ubuntu? That shouldn't change, right?
No, not at all.
Software shouldn't change at all.
I mean,
Somebody asked if maybe Canonical should have picked Plasma instead of GNOME for their desktop environment. Well, for beginners, probably, But
well, I, made
I
a
said
video about
yes.
that specifically.
Okay.
Although
But,
I
from my
took it.
personal opinion, I would say yes. Yeah.
Well, my
Is there
approach
a
is to not.
KDE edition of Ubuntu right now?
Yeah, Kubuntu.
Ubuntu,
Oh,
yeah. But surely that was
Oh.
never going to happen with the guy that split off from Kubuntu and made Neon. Wasn't there sort of like an acrimonious split or something?
I don't know.
A parting of the
Jonathan Riddell.
ways?
Yes and no. Jonathan Riddell is the guy you're talking about.
Mhm.
And he was the community leader for Kubuntu.
Kubuntu, yeah.
But it wasn't a split of them, there was a tiff in the sense of there was a community management level issue
Wait,
where
wait.
there was
Wait,
an,
before you go
there was
any
an
further,
argument.
what does the
What?
community leader do?
Community leader
What's his
is
job?
is basically they're basically the manager for the project of the flavor. So, like for example, Martin Wimpress is the community manager for the Ubuntu Mate branch.
Gotcha. Okay, continue on.
And then the situation is that Riddell had a problem with the licensing and also the donation structure of what goes to Kubuntu and what doesn't. But as far as like the real split reason, that wasn't why he left, because the Kubuntu project doesn't take money from Canonical anymore. So like the argument, the issue he had at the time was because the community donations that were going to Canonical for the Ubuntu project was supposed to be dispersed between all the flavors as well, and he didn't like the way that the transparency that they offered for the money and how it's being shared. So they decided to take Kubuntu off of that, and Kubuntu has their own donation structure, and they still do. But the reason why he split off of Kubuntu for KDE Neon was basically a philosophy of how the KDE Plasma should be ran, and the stack should be ran as a packaging structure. He didn't like the idea that they were beholden to the structure of Kubuntu, or the Ubuntu structure on Kubuntu, where you have to do the 6 months release and you have to package it and freeze it and all this other stuff. So he wanted to do the whole, KDE stack rolls and the base stays the same.
Right.
But he couldn't get Kubuntu to change that because he wasn't like the rest of the team were not in agreement that should happen. So he decided to branch off instead. Cool. Now, some of the team went with him and continue to work on both now. But overall, it was like it's not like they had a falling out or anything. Like they still work together a lot. Like for example, Valerie is one of the heads of Kubuntu, and she contributes to the KDE stack in general and KDE Neon in some ways.
Exciting.
Yep.
It actually
technical
is
politics.
Exciting.
That's right.
Can't get away from it anywhere.
Nope.
Yeah.
But the
Ubuntu 6 month cycle, because surely, I mean, they're putting all this effort into 1710, and then surely they should be putting that effort into 1804.
Well,
and not just having this 6 month thing, and then after 10 months it's dead in the water.
I mean, it's a continuous structure. Like all the work they're putting into 1710 is also a part of this 1804, just inherently.
Which is why they're pushing Wayland.
Yeah, like they're everything they want to have in 1804, they have to have in 1710 for the testing purposes. So like every time they do an LTS release, what they do is like it's actually kind of a good idea and kind of awkward the way they did the release end of life structure. So like 1610, 1704, 1710 are all 9 month release cycles. That's kind of annoying because it means you have to upgrade. If you use them, you have to upgrade. But in a sense of like the development concept, it's kind of good because it means that people are using the most up-to-date version of what you're using, and that means that more people are beta testing it. Essentially, it's not really beta, but it is in the sense of the LTS. It is kind of like it's a stable release that they use as beta testing for the LTS. I'm not sure if that made sense or not.
Yeah. So you can almost say that, as you say, anything that's between the 2 year marker is really like a beta, ready for the big
Not
one
really.
that comes out 2 years later.
I mean, it's not a beta because it is usable.
No, of course, yeah.
It's more of a, I don't know. There's not a thing. It's a gamma. How about that? And I would say that it's a good idea because it means that people are testing something that needs to be tested anyway. Like, because the LTS releases are always a big polish release. Like they put as much as they can to improve all of the issues that were in prior versions, and they have to have a release that they can do testing in. Mm-hmm. So, and without not like a testing like problematic code, but in a testing of sense like here's these ideas we want to use. We don't think that it's necessarily ready for everyone in an LTS structure, but if you want to use the current versions, it's totally fine. We would like for you to help us there. Like that's what those are kind of for.
Yeah.
Linux is the simplest structure ever. If you didn't notice.
Ever. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
I enjoy the convolutedness of it in the masochistic way.
I mean, I like the whole idea of everything. Like, for example, like with Jonathan Riddell going off and making KDE Neon, I love the whole being able to fork something or go in a different direction with something. But then that just splits everything up and it just makes constant more. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that yet.
I think it's both a blessing and a curse, because the blessing of Linux is how many options we have, but the curse is there's sometimes too many options. You know, even if I look at different distros every week, try and do little videos just introducing little distros, it's like sometimes I'm like, okay, what really is the difference? You know, and then I mean, understanding somebody more knowledgeable on Linux, we understand the difference a little bit more than somebody who's a newer person, but it lends the same problem that, you know, what is the real difference from a user's perspective? And that in and of itself is something to think about.
Very little when they just work.
Yeah.
So whether you put Ubuntu Mate on there or Manjaro Mate on there, as long as they just work for you, does it matter?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the main difference.
That's the thing,
yeah.
You know?
I think the differences between distros is one that works and one that doesn't when you think about it. I mean, out of the box, after doing the updates. Now, I don't do as many reviews as I used to after 7 years of doing this because, you know, it varies hardware to hardware. I remember when Ubuntu 16.04 came out. I installed it on 2 machines. Man, smooth as silk. Some of my subscribers, what the hell are you talking? It's the worst thing since so, you know. But that can happen depending on the type of hardware. But in the end, the main differences between distros is not just the looks or who makes it, but does it work out of the box? And it continues to work out of the box nowadays, in my opinion. You know, besides being ease of use and, you know, for beginners. You know, that's why I picked Ubuntu Mate as my distro of the year, at least for beginners. But really, I mean, Rocco, that's the main difference: working versus not working, right?
Well, it is, but I think that's where Solus comes in and does an awesome job of working out of the box, especially for people who don't have a specific need for some specific software that's out there.
Yeah.
You know, like I have something, you know, like with the Zoom thing, I have that I have to have, but for anybody that doesn't need that, Solus works awesome out of the box. And especially Budgie. Budgie has some absolutely awesome defaults.
Nice. Yeah. Cool.
And they've changed a lot of the defaults for the latest release, which is interesting, but they're doing a more
traditional,
conservative,
conservative
approach.
Seen that. I did see that. It was surprising because usually Budgie is like, it's not. It wasn't. Like GNOME, it wasn't completely out of nowhere because it did have sane defaults, you know, even with the panel really on the top and everything. But
like it's the same thing. It's just it's not on the top anymore. It's on the bottom. It's the
yes,
same.
but that may not be a big deal for me and you, but that is a big deal for somebody who's new to Linux.
Well, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think the decision was good, especially since they made it so easy to change it back if you wanted to.
Yep.
And they also made it so you can do side ones now, so that's cool. I think that Solus is a great distro that has a ton of potential. That is very much still a boutique distro, though, mainly because of the application availability.
Is that going to
change? I think they need
anything?
better names.
Do you think that will change now he's full-time, or is Ike is still going to concentrate on the base OS and let the fringe people do the applications?
I mean, he does actually applications too, but like the fact that he's adding snaps means that Solus is going to have snaps, Flatpaks, and app images support. So as far as the application availability, if an application uses one of those, they're covered. So it is a good idea that he's opening to the full 3 stack of universal formats. But I don't think it's going to change anything other than more intensive pace development and releases.
So is it based more on stability? So unless I'm like kind of like Debian, not the latest steps,
No,
but more
not.
stability. Is that
No, it's a rolling.
okay?
Yeah,
oh, it
and
is. Okay, all right.
It's a really fast rolling release as well. I mean, he was really upset on
Okay.
Google Plus the other day because he
Wasn't
missed
sure.
a kernel update, and he went,
Yeah.
"Oh well, let
All right.
Arch have it first." He really likes to be first in getting a lot of the stuff.
Okay.
in
It
there.
gets very rolling. As far as stability wise, they are very stable for being a rolling release. But as far as like
Okay.
the software concept of stable, no.
Okay.
But then, I mean, they
wasn't
still have
sure.
their unstable repos where they get tested before we get to use them in the general.
Yeah, but
populace.
that's the same thing as Arch. That's like, it doesn't mean that it's fully tested once they're in the regular repos. Like, people confuse the testing repos with saying once it's in the regular repos it's okay. That's not necessarily true, and that's the same in Solus.
Whereas with
thing,
Debian, once you know it's got to the main release, you know it's 2 years old anyway, so it's going to work.
Pretty much, yeah.
Same thing with Manjaro, though. They say they test all their programs before they allow them in.
They obviously can't do.
There's no way they could do that. Dude.
Literally
it's like
not.
impossible.
You're like, hey, we test all these programs. Wait, you mean the same programs, the same amount of programs that are in Arch that have 140 people working on it, and you have 9?
Yeah, those
Totally
same
possible.
ones.
Totally.
Too many high profile breakages in the last few months for
Yeah,
them to be able to hold that statement up.
Well, they also make decisions. They make mistakes that are kind of silly, and then not
Just proves they're human.
justifiable. Well, yeah, but when the mistake is something that a human could just create a cron job for that solves it, it doesn't really. The human aspect is gone. They just didn't do it.
Hindsight is a great thing.
No, that's true for the first time, not when it keeps happening. The same.
No, if they
problem.
keep making the same mistake, then yeah.
That's what they did. They've done that multiple times on different things.
So maybe there's life for XFCE anyway, because that definitely doesn't come out until it's ready.
Oh,
Or at all.
Okay. I thought it was a buffer. You said till it's ready. I thought you just said doesn't come out.
it doesn't come out.
Hey, look, I have to get my XFC dig in every week.
Hey, look, man, you like XFC, and that's great, dude. And you don't need it to be any more than that. Okay, my dad, he runs Peppermint, and he loves it. And he doesn't need it to be any more than it is. And, you were talking before about why do you need all this flash and all this stuff. And he watches this stuff, and he's there, and he's agreeing with you completely the whole time. You and him would get along great. And he's there, why do you need that? I don't need that. I just need this to open. I just need my file manager, to do whatever. I don't need nothing fancy.
There you go. Lightweight and simple.
Yep.
Click to go.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
And
a
he
lot of my
loves-
distros are like that, and some of them, like the one I'm running on here is my media PC. I like that to be fancy and dancy, but my production ones, I want this stuff to get out of my way so I can work.
Is that the
kinda
KDE
difference.
one? Your media
Well,
one?
yeah. Right now I'm running Debian KDE, and it's I still have not resolved that volume issue, but everything else seems to be working
That's
fine.
that's a oxymoron, ain't it? KDE and Debian.
Yeah, But actually, this computer runs KDE, Cinnamon, and Mate, and Kodi, if you consider that a different desktop environment.
Why is that an oxymoron?
Well, just because KDE's like always up to date and Debian's never up to date.
Hey, they're up to date right now.
choice of words,
Just give it
maybe,
a couple
but-
months.
Well,
It'll be
it's a
another
conundrum.
6 or 7 years before the next one comes out.
Debian has Plasma 5.8, which is
Yeah,
the
but Debian in general does not have up to date applications. So
well, that's
you're
true.
running KDE, which is usually up to date with the latest and greatest of everything, and then you run Debian.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, if you want that,
5.8.6 on the Plasma.
yeah,
Yeah.
5.8 is the 5.8 is the LTS version of Plasma, so it makes sense
Yep.
that Debian would have that. And
My
it also
kernel
makes
is
sense that Debian
4.9.
weighted, so that makes sense too.
I think
Can you
Rocco's
imagine
talking
not-
about. I think
Yeah, go on,
Rocco's
Collins.
talking about applications as in LibreOffice and all that. They're normally
Yeah.
quite a fair bit behind on Debian.
Colin knew what I was talking about.
No, I understand that Debian is old. They're always old. But right now they're not, considering they released in July. So they're the oldness of their release is like a couple months or so.
Libre
imagine
is 5.2.7.2. I'm not sure what the currents are, but
5.4 is the current.
5.4. Okay, so that's a little older.
They're all going to be somewhat old because the way they do it is a couple months old. But it's
Yeah.
not.
Debian.
Yes, but right now it is not as old as it will be in 2 years.
But if you
But
don't
so-
turn on your Debian KDE for a month, you'll have one Debian update and 54 KDEs.
Yeah, I've only had 2 updates come through on the computer since I've been running this.
Yeah, the KDE the packaging in KDE and Debian is not done by the same team that keeps KDE Plasma up to date. It's done by Debian maintainers. So the speed of Debian maintainers is the same either way. But I understand what you're saying. Like Debian is old, but that's also true for literally anything you run on it. So the only thing that doesn't update fast is XFCE.
I've tested Debian in the past. It's definitely stable. It's
I
definitely
mean, you
stable.
can say the
that's for
same thing
sure.
about LXDE, except that's gonna be obsolete. So they're replacing it. So you kind of can say about it, and at the same time not, because they're getting rid of it anyway.
Has anyone seen the rubbish news for the week?
I'm sorry, what, Colin?
Which one?
The rubbish news for the week that I'm to is adding a trash can icon to the desk cam, to the desktop.
Yeah, I seen that.
That's the
That'll
rubbish
make it
news
so
for
much
the
better.
week.
I saw that. I sleep better at night. Thank you.
It's the play on words news, huh?
Sorry about that.
It's all
A
good.
little bit of a news and nonsense tonight. Yeah.
It was a little less than the muffler joke.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. But that
You-
It worked. It was good.
Even the dogs thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my popsicle sticks? I have popsicle sticks somewhere with jokes on them. I need one right now.
they're quiet. Thank you. I muted my mic,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm talking in between the barks.
Next week, Rock, we need to do another news and nonsense recording. We didn't do one this week, last week, whatever. But I had fun on that one we did 2 weeks ago.
Yes, it was fun, man. It's
It was.
I'm struggling to find time for everything right now.
Yeah,
the
that
only
was
issue
busy
that I
this
have.
week. Yeah, no, I understand. We'll try to schedule something here next week, but it was definitely fun. So
yeah.
I don't doom as much anymore. Spatry's gone. My friend Stephanie, I think she's back to Germany. She's doing her thing, working on her next album. So it's not fun doing those by myself. You need that rapport when you have a joke or whatever, So
Yeah.
I think what you need to do, Toss, you need to get Toss to join Rocket League, and you can do news and nonsense while you're doing Rocket League. That would be just awesome.
Hey, did you hear the one about Debian's trash can? Boom! What happened? Oh, you're right.
Own goal, yeah.
It takes a lot of effort to talk
Yeah.
and play that game.
Yeah, I've seen you guys play, but yeah.
That's why it'd be even more fun.
Some of us have talent and some of us don't. I'm just
If you
saying.
say so.
I'm a very humble person. I wouldn't say it, even though it's true.
It's not bragging if it's true, right?
Right? Exactly.
Where's Das Geek to
Oh,
defend
is that how
himself?
it works?
Alan, I'm still waiting for you to get Rocket League, for crying out loud.
Oh, I haven't had the
So
guts
what
to
you guys
launch
play
I
Sunday?
enjoy the
I'm
fact
very late.
I enjoy the fact that I come in here for like 2 weeks and talk about how Rocket League is awesome, and then Rocco gets it, and it becomes a thing that just rolls along.
Just a continual rolling thing.
Yeah, it's an avalanche of Rocket League.
That's right.
Talk about a rolling release. Those cars, right?
It's a fantastic game. If you don't have it, you should get it.
You should.
I've seen it. Looks good. It looks
I
good.
totally agree.
I play the only one I play now steadily is Asphalt 8 Airborne in Windows. It's like a Need for Speed. It's awesome. I just love that game. But
Have you
There's nothing
tried
steady about your
the?
driving.
you like my driving?
It's like a crash fest. Yeah.
It's cathartic. You know, when you see people texting and driving, you want to do as you can't, but in the thing, boom, that's right. Facebook message, boom, you got mail, boom.
The only problem, there's only one problem with Rocket League, and it's the discrepancy of skill that's developed based on how long you play. So, like, when you convince people to play it, literally everyone who plays this game in the beginning is going to be bad at the game. Like, it's a thing you have to develop skill in. So, like, the more you play, the better you get. And when if you bring in people like months after you, they're not going to be like able to keep up with you. It's just the how it is.
It looks like a free-for-all, that game. It's just pandemonium, it seems. But
no, it's fantastic. Anybody who plays it, and the first time they play it alone and not with someone they know who's good at it. They'll be matched with people who are on the same level. So it's a fair match. If you play with someone who's a higher rank, you're going to be pushed into games with people higher ranked than you automatically. So like,
got it.
It's going to try to meet, like, let's say, for example, I'm in like low high tier. So like there's like 5 or 6 tiers. I'm in like the highest of the low tier, lowest of the high tier. If you play with me and you first start playing, they're going to match you. You're going to be at the lowest tier, and they're going to match people in the middle at like the medium high tier. So it's just not a fair comparison.
I think some of the Halo multimedia, like the Halo Online teams, matchmaking works that way sometimes. You know, like say you're a beginner and you're against a team that has a rating of 50, yours is 0. Well, of course you're going to get crushed. You know.
Yeah. They try to avoid that.
That would make sense.
They allow people to play with anyone else they want. But it can blow up in your face sometimes.
Oh, sure.
So it's better when you first start playing it to feel how the game plays. With other people at the same level.
Remember one time years ago, I was playing Halo. It was 4 against 4, and my son was in bed, so I was playing by myself, or me and 3 other strangers online, and my entire team quit. So it was 4 against 1. So I thought about quitting. You know, come on, 4 against 1. But I thought I'm just going to try. I scored 25 kills by myself almost. Now 50 wins. Of course, I lost. But I thought to myself, man, you guys suck. You let me score 25 kills by myself. I mean, I lost. But I thought to myself, you guys really are awful, you know. But they're just one of those few memories I have of playing Halo way back when, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big first-person shooter fan.
Yeah, Halo, as far as online, they definitely nailed it, you know. But I don't play as much as I used to. Yeah, the Halo 2, the anniversary. Did you check that one out? When we did a couple of years, it's awesome. Yeah, they did a really good job. Yeah.
Well, just so you know, when I'm playing in Rocket League with Michael, I'm using as my excuse that I get matched up with too high skill levels. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it is inevitable, but I mean, it's still fun.
It's still fun. I mean, you got guys flying around, like, basically playing on the ceiling, you know?
Yeah. Like,
that's you, Rocco.
I'm trying to jump like a foot in the air, you know?
All I see is Rocco go flying across the screen one way, next minute he comes flying back the other way, and next minute there's Rocco scoring a goal from the center of the course.
You know, I see you guys play Rocket League, and the cars go flying. It kind of reminds me of Halo matchmaking with the gravity hammer. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
For the whack, and 3 guys go flying at one clip. But that's what it kind of reminds. So, like, instead of the people, just put the cars in there. So
you can actually, if someone's coming down from an aerial, you can catch them on the ground and then sling them back up into the ceiling if you want.
Oh my goodness.
I do that sometimes.
Sounds like fun. It sounds like fun.
So is that part of the tactic to keep them out of the game?
It only helps you for like 2 seconds, but it still it does annoy them. So like sometimes in this game, if you tilt someone, they might lose their footing in the game and then like just give up. And that particular game they just kind of like lose it, and it's a really weird psychology in the game too. So it's not just skill; it's also like messing with people. Like there's in the higher levels you get, the more and more messing with people it becomes.
Yeah, but that's so true because there'll be so many games. Like I played one game and we were just doing really good and everything just seemed to go right. And then the next game, it seemed like every time I went near anything near the ball, I was getting knocked out of the way, and that's okay. But it just takes you out of the frame of mind of playing the right way. It's like you just, what I mean? It's like you just basically give up.
There's different positions and tactics and stuff you're supposed to do, and then once that happens, you just completely.
He's done a
That
ski.
wasn't me.
He's the new
Ignore.
ski. Wait, you just cut out, dude.
I did.
Again.
All right,
I
so
noticed
you have
that
to
too.
repeat what you just said because you cut out.
I don't know what I was talking about. I can't remember exactly what I said.
The gravity hammer.
Gravity hammer. Well, there was like literally this happened today. Like I was playing earlier today, and I played there's a mode called solo standard, which means it's 3v3, but every single person in there is a solo queue, so that there are no teams playing together. No one knows each other. It's all random people, and there's standard and solo standard. You can queue up with people in standard, but you're forced to play with random people in the other one. And in this solo standard, I had more points than all other people combined, including my team. And the next game, I got totally wrecked. Like it fluctuates so much that it kind of makes it fun. It's frustrating, but at the same time, that's also fun.
Yep.
I like the Halo big team battle. I'd always go for the Jeep, what they call it, the Warthog. I just love splattering people. I'll let the other guys shoot. I'm just gonna run people over, man. And there were some games where apparently I kept nailing the same guy over and over, not on purpose, but they thought I was cheating. I said, "No, man, you're in my way," so I just run you over, But
Nice.
those were
There's
fun
actually
times
simulation
back then,
in Rocket League too. You can do that.
You know what I mean? There's what?
So you guys were discussing
Demolitions.
I like
solos.
when they teabag you too.
You can't do that in Rocket League, but you can try. It might work.
We were
You guys
actually
were
discussing solos earlier.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
did you try it out,
between-
Colin?
No, I haven't. I've downloaded them, but I decided to give Ferran OS a go, and I'm on Ferran OS right now, actually. So I thought I'd give that a bit of spin and see how it goes. And it's actually not too bad, actually. So not quite enjoying it at the moment.
I do see there's a Farron OS release. Look at that.
Yeah, it's actually a release. So normally when you download the Ferran OS ISO, you've got to actually run the ISO hybrid
Yes.
first. But this one you didn't have to.
So you don't have to treat it.
No, not this time. It went straight to a USB etcher, so I didn't have to ISO hybrid at this time. So that was
Nice.
good.
Yeah. He did say he took WPS out and replaced it with Libre, which I was very happy about.
Yes, he's done that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I was pretty critical on that. That was the only major thing I didn't like about the Farron OS, and he actually listens. At least to those of us that do more reviews and things, he'll actually listen and make a lot of suggestions.
So
But what I
did you-
find really strange is he's taken out 64 million themes that he had in the last one.
That's
It's
the
still
problem.
3.1 gig.
Yeah, that's the biggest criticism I have right now. Is it set it up like some of the other distros, like KDE or Cinnamon, whatever else. You have a link there to go download more, because how many times do we change our themes? We don't need that many themes.
No, but why is it still 3.1 gig? Is he not using any sort of compression on it?
Is he not? Are the themes not there anymore? I haven't
No,
looked at
you
them.
have to download them.
Oh, really? They're not there? Huh.
No,
I've got an
the themes
empty
are
place marker.
downloadable. Yeah,
Say again, Colin.
yeah. He's got the themes there, but they're within the theme up, but they're actually downloadable now, so they don't take up as much room. So, and I know what you're talking about, Zed, because it's still 3.1 gig or something like
That's
that.
a lot.
So,
That's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
so I don't
Cubes
know-
is 4, and it has Fedora and Debian.
I don't know what's
that's a big
taking up
ISO.
all the room.
I can't think of the
It
last
is,
time
yeah.
I've touched the theme, and I just, as long as I can see it. I mean, I wear contacts. As long as I can see it, it's usually not a dark theme because of my eyes. But I can't think of the last time I've touched a theme or changed it. I change wallpaper a lot, but theme.
I think
You know, as long as I can see, you know, it's fine. So
I only change a theme every couple days.
That's it, huh?
Every couple of days.
I still use it.
he's a theme hopper. There you go.
I am. I'm a theme hopper. I actually really like Farron OS. I really do. I think that the treating of the ISO is a major step forward for him, so that people can actually download it and use it. Like, there was so many people that didn't know about that. It wasn't like evident everywhere. It wasn't like this flashing light saying, "Hey, you got to treat this." So many people said, "Hey, I downloaded this and I can't put it on a USB." So I think that'll definitely help him out. I still don't know why it's 3 gigabytes though.
That's a lot. Anything over 2 seems like it's not needed. There was one distro I downloaded. Speaking of over, what was it? Is it Ultimate Linux? Is that still around? Oh my lord! I think there was 64.2 million themes in there and different.
Yeah, that's
too
right.
much.
Yeah.
And it never worked the way it should. You would change something, then something would break. In theory, it looked great. I mean, if you wanted all of it, all the themes ever created for Linux seemed in there, but it's too much.
Endless OS is bigger though.
Okay.
Yeah, because they've got all the offline stuff on that. So you've got a whole, like a encyclopedia or a Wikipedia, so you can completely use it offline, the Endless OS.
Yeah, what
I
is
think
that, like 12
initial
gigabytes?
download is like 15 gig or something.
Is it 15? It's ridiculous.
But as the guy said, if he's taking it to some remote village in Africa and just installing it
Is
on
it
a
really
laptop.
15?
Yeah, seriously, look it up. Endless
It's
OS.
quite big, yeah.
It's the
Is
whole
one of the
Linux.
themes Windows 10?
I think it's every application you could possibly have that will run on
okay.
it.
Windows
But
10 is
when you
only
do-
4, actually.
Say again?
Windows 10 is only 4.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, I actually have the ISO for it, so I can
Okay.
spin it up on virtual machines.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So 15's a lot. Yeah.
It's quite big. But I'm still trying to look here at what might take up all the room on Farron. But I actually, in the welcome screen, I actually installed the Play on Linux, and I think Rising by default, but Play on Linux was installed, and so was Steam, I think. So they weren't actually installed there as well. So I don't know what takes up all that room.
Yeah, I was going to say that shouldn't take up that much room. Jeez.
No.
Well, it looks like my orc hunt has just been commenced, so I got to jump off here. Speaking of video games.
See you, Tom.
All right.
See you, Tom.
See you later, Tom. Bye.
So any of you guys tried Solus? Or not yet?
Yeah, I've tried it. It's awesome.
You tried it?
There's
Which one,
no-
Rocco?
Budgie.
Budgie? Okay.
Yep. I didn't install the GNOME because I had installed GNOME before, and really, you know, I guess if you like GNOME, then you're gonna want to run the Solus GNOME. But I was just looking to see what was updated. So, Budgie's just, I don't know. Ike seems to have such a vision for which way things should go, and you know, like he'll change his mind and he'll say I won't go here, and then stop, and then he'll change his mind again. And he always seems it's like a cat that always lands on his feet. He seems to always have the right way to go, and the new Solus is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, typically.
I've got... Sorry, yeah, go on.
Well, I was just going to say the reasons he changes are usually good for the community and the distro. So it's like if he has an opinion, then he changes his mind. Usually, it's because it's beneficial to other people, and that's the best way to approach it. Like for example, he in the beginning he said he absolutely would not put snaps in because he didn't agree with it, and or how everything was working and how it technically built. And then he said things. I asked him what he didn't like, and he said some things that were incorrect. So I had a conversation with him. Martin Wimpress had a conversation with him, and eventually he was convinced to finally put snaps in. So he decided that he was wrong about certain things, and now he sees what their goal is, and has no problem with putting snaps in. So that because it benefits Solus as a whole, he's open to changing it, and that's fantastic.
The thing I like about him as well is he he seems to be able to just take himself out of the picture, and as you say, look at the community as a whole, and then come up with that correct direction.
Absolutely.
He's not just doing it because that's what he likes. He's listening to other people's opinions and making sure that molds with what he's trying to do.
The only thing he does what he likes about is the infrastructure and the core like development of it. As far as like what is included and what isn't, he doesn't really care. He doesn't seem to care. But as far as like how everything is infrastructured and the different packaging system and the different things like that, he does care about that, and that's like the main part of his vision.
So
like,
talking about Snappy and Flatpak, I installed Snappy before I took Solus off the system the other day, and like not everything in the Snappy list comes up when you do a file search.
That's true.
And also the Flatpaks is not a lot there. There seems to be a lot more app images than anything else, and they seem to work very well.
So
but what's the deal with
just a weird decision that Canonical made that confuses that part. As far as Flatpak goes, yeah, there's very few. Like a dozen. As far as app images, there's a lot of them, and as far as snaps, there's probably close to the same. Maybe app images might be more because they've been around longer. But as far as like overall, I'm not totally sure. But snap find, and then it shows the list of things. It only shows 100. There are way more than 100. But they limited the results in the command line if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, because the list would just get excessive. So what they did is they didn't really seem to do it on purpose. They just kind of like said, well, you're already doing it. Let's, collab with it. So the UApp Explorer website is where you go to look for snaps.
Okay.
And that's
is that
track of snaps.
You install that, or you?
No, it's a website.
It's a website. Oh, okay. So
you just find the
can
website you want it, and you say, and there's actually a link on the website. When you click it, it opens the Ubuntu software application that you can install the software from there.
Right. Oh, okay.
Or you can like the GNOME extensions website, right?
Do what? Well, it's kind of like how you can install GNOME extensions like that. Yeah. But you can do.
I'll have to look at that.
You can also use the snap command as well if you just want to use the terminal. Like you just get the package name from the page and then you just run the snap install and it works fine.
Right. So you know what it does, and then you want it, and then you can go into the snap and just install it.
Yeah. Like it's kind of confusing, but it makes sense why they did it. It doesn't make sense that they didn't provide a solution prior to doing it, but someone else had already provided the solution, so I guess that's why. But they created that website for the Ubuntu phone and just said, well, our website already is integrated with your API, and we could just add snaps too, and why not?
It's a bit confusing for people who are installing snaps and don't know, that's going on, to be honest. I don't understand why that's not a little bit more sort of open to people.
Yeah, it's confusing. Flatpaks are also kind of confusing because there's the Flat Hub, which keeps track of all the Flatpaks, but the Flat Hub is also a completely third-party thing. There is some confusion around these formats. The least amount is app images, but because the app images don't automatically work when you download them, you have to make them executable, which is a security thing that's good, but it's also confusing because it needs a DE to recognize that particular format in order to automate that process. But a DE so far haven't done that. So it's a weird situation where they all have very good pros and they all have a few cons too.
And that's the same with everything in life, isn't it? Pretty much. Yeah. Everything's got a pro, everything's got a con.
I think overall...
It's the same with desktop environments, isn't it? All desktop environments, you could find something really good and bad about all of them. If you could put them all together as a modular system and just use the bits and pieces that you like, you could have your best desktop, couldn't you?
Yeah, probably. Except for Plasma is already the best desktop. But as far as like the other part, I can go ahead and answer the question which format is best. because it depends on the time frame, and that's it. Technologically speaking, snaps are superior to everything else because they handle so much and so efficiently, and they have security built into them, and overall they're great. But they are not at a deployable state to a large scale yet. So in the future, snaps will probably outlast all of it. App images won't die either because they're the longest running ever. But Flatpaks will probably continue. They just won't have as much status. And app images are currently the best right now because app images just work and you don't have to worry about it. And they even integrate with systems.
Sorry, I was going to say, out of snaps and app image, what's the easiest to implement and use for an end user point of view? Sorry, snaps and Flatpak.
Snaps and Flatpak. Oh, snaps.
Yeah, because app image is easy. You just download it, execute it, and run it.
Yeah. Snaps are easier.
Snaps are easier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because with Flatpaks, there's no centralized server for the thing, so you have to install a repo every time you want a Flatpak. So you have to do that first, and then you install the Flatpak, and then you run the Flatpak.
No, that's right. Yes.
And then if you don't have Flatpak installed on some distros, you have to install a Flatpak, and Flatpak installation is broken. And it's silly for why it's broken, because at the end of the installation, you get this massive error that something didn't work, and you're like, "What didn't work? What does this mean?" And then you go and ask them, and they go, "Just reboot your machine. The service for the daemon is not running. You just need to make that running." You're like, "Oh, you should make the error say that."
Yeah, please reboot. Is that hard?
Yeah, that's all you have to do. Just reboot. And that's literally what I did, and it worked.
Yeah. How would you know to? It's like Windows 10 does the updates, and then it says error, but really all you gotta do is reboot. I mean,
yeah, it's just a silly reason. It's a silly error that doesn't need to exist, and it's not even like it's a really confusing error because they're talking about having files like it's not even the same error that this daemon is not running. It's saying it can't find these files. Like you just installed it. Like, why can't you find it? It's a very scary, weird error. And then it's just reboot. Like,
it's in stealth mode. Yeah.
But,
it's in stealth mode.
Yeah. But then it's also weird because the whole reason that snaps are better is they're more flexible, but they also have a centralized structure. So like people will say, well, I don't like the centralized thing canonical runs. Like, well, you don't have to use that, but by default, it's good to have one. Because it means you don't have to install a repo to get something. Whereas the same problem with PPAs that currently exist also exists in Flatpaks because you have to know where to get the Flatpak. Like I don't like the idea of what they're at least they're putting in the effort to solve a problem that's existed forever.
And in saying that, the Flatpak, the snaps are definitely easier to install because it's just the same command. All you got to do is put the name of the app, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's basic. If you're used to using Linux in general or using apt in general, it's just instead of saying apt, you say snap, and that's it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Can you do what was the name of that thing again, Michael? What was it?
App Explorer.
App Explorer.
Yeah, the letter U App Explorer.
App Explorer, yeah.
Yeah, it should be just uappexplorer.com. Might be .org, but I think it's .com.
All right.
Do snaps work in Linux Mint? I really haven't really tested.
They should, but I don't know. I can't guarantee that. Okay. That's up to Mint, including Snapd. Mm-hmm. But I actually don't like Mint at all. I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's .com.
It's .com. Okay.
uappexplorer.com.
Yeah, their website's kind of confusing a little bit, but because they still have a little bit of the remnants of the click packages, which are for the Ubuntu phone, but that'll eventually go away, unless they have an agreement with the UB ports. But I don't know about that. And Fat Elvis snaps do not only come from Canonical. That is wrong.
Incorrect.
Yes.
Now, I was just Rocco. I was just looking. I've got Solus running here, the GNOME desktop.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at the extensions before. They've got quite a few extensions on this release.
You mean by default?
Yeah. By
Enabled.
default already. Oh, this is I'm running this live at the moment, but on the tweak tool there's quite a
Well,
fair bit.
what do they have? What do they have installed and run and enabled?
The only ones that have enabled is Top Icons Plus, User Themes, Impatience. I don't know what that one is.
It makes the
Plus,
animation
speed up
go.
the name show. Oh yeah, and Dash to Dock. They're all enabled, but it's got alternate tab, applications menu, auto move windows, hello world,
Well,
launch
that's weird.
new instance, native window placement, places status indicator, removable drive, screenshot window sizer, window list, workspace indicator, window navigator. So there's, and would it be safe to say that if they're installed by default, they actually won't break as easy? Would that be safe to say, or on future updates, or a little smirk there?
Well, I would think that they would have to at least, be testing those. Well, obviously when they're when GNOME updates, they're going to QT, so I don't even know how that's going to work. How's that going to work?
Are we talking about Solus?
Yeah.
Well, so only Budgie's going to QT.
Oh, okay. All right. So they would have to be testing those extensions. They're obviously not going to leave them in there at enabled and then not test them. They're going to make sure that they work.
Here's the more convoluted stuff. GNOME has an LTS version of 322. Okay. Now, they also have a 324, which is kind of an LTS, kind of not. It's weird, but I don't know. Then they're also making GNOME 4. Or not GNOME, but no, really all making GNOME 4 and GTK 4. Like, they're making the whole thing. But they're going to keep maintaining the LTS of 3. So 324 will continue to be maintained. So if someone releases a distro based on GTK 3 and GNOME 3 as the core, they will be fine if they just keep using that. And the extensions are going to be supported that version as well as potentially 4 if the extension maintainer continues to work on it. The breakage of the infuriating, infamous breakage of GNOME extensions every single time is potentially ended if a distro keeps with GNOME 3 LTS structure.
Right.
If they go to 4, all bets are off. Like, it's pretty much back to square one, guaranteed.
Right.
Did these guys used to work for Sony? Because the PS4 is not backwardly compatible with a PS3 and et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? It's just...
GNOME specifically said that they weren't, they're not working on compatibility between 3 and 4. Like, it's a hard break. And the same thing they did with 2. 2 and 3 was a hard break.
A hard break like Plasma from KDE 4?
No, because a lot of things work from 4 to 5. Especially Dolphin.
A lot of things that did not work.
Well, of course, but not everything's gonna be ported because it doesn't. The KDE doesn't control everything that's a part of the Plasma infrastructure. They just create the core, and the plasmoids and stuff like that might not be maintained by a KDE team member. So, like for example, there was a really cool extension for your clock structure. Like it's a plasmoid for the clock, and it's like, who cares, right? Turns out I did. So the clock allowed you to have full control over the layout of everything. As long as you know the Unix symbols for the different layouts of clock time display, you can make it look however you want on multiple lines, on one line, on, have any particular order of the ISO date or whatever you want. But it did not continue over to Plasma 5. And it's because the maintainer didn't want to. Someone else said, well, that's a good idea, we should still make it. So they made an alternative to that, which allows you to do a similar thing, but a kind of a better way, actually, because it integrates with your calendar and all this other stuff. So overall, it's an improvement from the previous version that I was annoyed that I didn't get to keep. But that's true for all DEs, that there is going to be some breakpoints. But 4 and 5 of Plasma didn't have a huge breakpoint. They had breakage, yes, but for example, Dolphin was framework 4 for like most of the time that Plasma 5 was out, and it still worked fine, perfectly.
Right.
So that like
No, you're right. It was mostly the extras that were not compatible or breaking.
Yeah. So like they do care about compatibility, and they absolutely care about version to version compatibility of the individual main core. Like for example, with 5.8, if you make something that works for 5.8, it's gonna also work for 5.9. Now there are new things that were made in 5.9 that would remove support for 5.8 if you wanted to, but you didn't have to. So like there are people who want to keep the development over as fast as possible. Like for Latte Dock, eventually they're gonna not support 5.8 before the LTS ends. So, but that's what they want, and if that's what the developer wants, that's what they want. There's nothing wrong with that. But with Plasma, if you build something to work inside of Plasma for a 5 point whatever, it's going to continue to work for 5 point anything else after. Whereas GNOME was, if you build it for something 3 point whatever, it's almost guaranteed to break.
And that's what cheesed Ike off a lot. He was fed up with all of the themes breaking every time they moved a point, and all of his pop-ups and pop-overs and all sorts of stuff, which is why he's going Qt.
I'm glad he's going to Qt. It's awesome. I think Qt is way better than
Qt.
GTK. It's cute, but still.
Qt.
I mean, it's actually officially cute, but still.
Oh, here we go.
Well, I use Q-tips.
Yeah, I don't care if people. For me, I don't care. Say whatever you want. I'm just going to say what they want you to say.
How cute.
Thanks.
Mate.
Mate.
So Fat Elvis early said that if you had to pick a side between GTK and Qt, which one? Qt, easily. It's a much better toolkit. It's more flexible. It's more portable. It's more reliable. It's got backward compatibility. You don't have to worry about it breaking all the time. You don't have to worry about the APIs destroying themselves. You do have to worry about Qt 5 and Qt 4 compatibility, but you don't have to worry about 5.9 and 5.10 compatibility. They will work. So that's the biggest issue between the two. Is GTK, you have to worry. Qt, probably don't. And if there is a problem where they release something that is broken, they don't tell people to use it. They go, "Oh, we'll stop. Don't port your stuff yet. Let us fix this." And that's actually kind of what they did with 5.8. It didn't really work as well as they wanted to, and they said, "Don't stay on 5.7. Don't jump yet." They released 5.9, and it's flawless. The transition from 5.7 to 5.9 is flawless. Like that's why Qt is a better toolkit. And the only reason people didn't use Qt was licensing. It's because it's proprietary, so it hasn't been for 15 years. But people said it all the time. So
one of those stigmas that never ends.
Yeah, originally it was proprietary, and then it became not proprietary. Like, because that never happens. BSD.
Going back to the clock thing, though, that's the one thing that frustrates me about Solus. You can't change it. You can't manipulate it and do your own format.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it more of like a polished? Here it is. Like it. If you like it, use it. If you don't, find something else.
Yeah, but I don't know anybody who doesn't have a clock on their taskbar, but to not be able to have it the way you like it is just. Surely it must be a simple fix.
It's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah, no, it should have a thing where you can change it to whatever you want it to be.
Of all the things to worry about is a freaking clock in a distro.
You've got to find a fault somewhere.
It's
and if all you can find is the clock, then
that's a good sign. Sure, I agree. It is kind of a ridiculous problem, but it's for a new user who's coming over to Linux, that they're kind of used to having the clock in their taskbar.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a valid argument. My argument was not valid, and I agree that the clock thing was more like it's not laid out the way I want it to be. It's there, but it's not what I want. So that I can understand why that's frivolous, but overall, it is kind of important to people. Some people.
But other people would think it's better to fix the Chrome install or the Google install rather than mess with the clock.
It's only time.
Well,
Time
Brad
passes.
was saying, I was telling you earlier about the problems I had installing third-party software with like Sublime Text, and he's running it, and he like said, "Oh, I just installed it, and it just went just like that." So it must be from different install to install having problems with that third-party install. So
Yeah,
I mean,
go
I
to
couldn't
the-
install any of them.
You just go to the Solar Software website, go to the Help Center, and just install it with the commands there for third party. Much easier and a lot quicker.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do that because
Yeah.
none of them would
Any
install. I mean,
third
they were
party-
just sitting there.
No, because they were saying that when you click that third party in the software center, it's got to go and retrieve this and change this, and it's doing all sorts of things in the background, and sometimes it just doesn't work for some people. I had one, I left it all night, but never installed. So go to the Help Center, go to the third party, and then just follow the commands in the terminal. Easy done, very quick.
Why don't you make a video on that, man?
Where's the third party in the?
I've got a video on that.
You
I do
do?
have a video. Yep.
What the heck? We got to get that some views, man.
Well, it's got some views, but I don't really take a lot of notice of how many views I get on video. I just upload them and whatever. So let me have a look where it is.
I am.
So I found it. Yeah.
Post that, will you? Is that?
What did you
Or
find?
should-
The
or
third
should I say-
party.
Should I say, Zeb? Can you post that, please?
There you go.
Thanks.
That'll just take you straight to the little terminal windows where it shows you what commands to run to install everything. Okay, so that's the end of Sudo's complaint about it doesn't work. I'll just tell him the terminal command now. Because that was his biggest bugbear. He liked it, but he says it's stupid that you've got something like a third-party software that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
go to the forum, read about it. He said, I shouldn't have to go to the forum.
When you
He's
say
right.
you got third-party software, is it provided by Solus?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only like, what, 12, 15 programs, I think? It's
Yeah,
like Google
Chrome, Frank, Skype, Slack,
Yeah.
Viber, Bitwig, Ocean
So-
Audio.
Proprietary stuff. It's all the proprietary stuff. I think that they struggle with the licensing. I think it's all of that stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Sublime Text in there. I'm interested.
Which
Sublime Text.
Sublime Text is in there, yeah.
Yeah, that's the for a long time that was the only reason I didn't bother. Because that's my jam.
Well, it's in there.
Well, I'll give it another shot
It's
legitimately.
in there.
There you go.
Yep,
Well, I
Sublime
play with it all
Text
the time,
3,
but-
yep.
I don't give it. I don't bother with that. Go in depth.
Well,
Well,
as you guys
use-
were talking, I was just like sifting through the Snap store. There's a lot of snaps. Holy mackerel.
Mm-hmm.
And why do we need a GNOME 324 snap?
Oh, see, this is fantastic.
Why do we need a snap that holds all of GNOME in it?
This is fantastic.
Tell me how fantastic it is.
It's like a runtime, sort of, but not really. It allows
It
the
is,
snap.
but it isn't.
Okay, you know how Flatpaks require runtimes to exist.
Okay.
With the snaps, you don't have to use a runtime. You can use a normal structure of a compiled or a self-contained file format, or you can use runtime. This is what KDE did. They built their own runtime. So a lot of people misunderstand what snaps are for and who provides them. Canonical does not want to do any of them unless they're made by Canonical things. If it's a Canonical project, Canonical's going to make them. They don't want to be the maintainer of anything that's not theirs. They want the original official project to control it.
Right.
So if someone creates something, if one of the Canonical employees create one because they want to bring it in, like Telegram, for example, then they would put Telegram space the person who put it in. And they don't get the user space of the main file format, of the main user name.
Right.
If the official project of Telegram comes in and says, we want to take it over and we'll manage the snap for you because it's our project, we would like to do that, then they'll go, great, you can now convert that into just Telegram. So when people say that it's all Canonical doing it, like, that's the opposite. They want the opposite. But that also means that KDE was the first one to do it, but now GNOME is doing it on, with injunction of Canonical because of the whole GNOME switch. But KDE's created a runtime that allows them to have a full snap of KDE. So instead of having KDE stack inside of each individual snap, they can put a main snap that everything connects to. So when they first release the calculator for KDE, it was a thing that people were going, that's ridiculously stupid how big that is. Why is it so big? It was like 120 megs
For a calculator.
For a calculator app. And they were like, well, because it has KDE stuff in it. And they talked with Canonical, and Canonical's like, we're making a thing where you can have snap dependencies and stuff. Kind of like a runtime, kind of not. And now the calculator is like 3 kilobytes. It's like,
We're on a diet. Yeah.
yeah, it's the difference between the two is so huge that it is fantastic that they're doing it. And the reason they're doing it with GNOME is because GNOME doesn't make packages ever for anyone. KDE does, so that's fantastic. But GNOME doesn't do it ever. Anyway, so
Are you all right?
yeah, it's cool.
Sure.
It's a calculated job, by
The reason why this is awesome is that anything that is GNOME based can use that snap as a runtime or a dependency, and you can package every GNOME app as a snap very easily.
I actually did see a GNOME calculator in here.
Yeah. So all of the issue of I can't run the latest version of whatever GNOME thing on Ubuntu 16.04 because can't have it. Now you can.
Ah.
Because
I got
GNOME
you.
doesn't care and has never made a package for any distro for anything ever, never will, blah blah. But now you don't have to worry about that because Snap solves it.
Nice.
I can't find Zoom in here, Rocco. Sorry about that.
No, Zoom is not in there. I already checked, man. It's terrible. Maybe somebody, like, I don't know, maybe somebody in here will help me make a snap for Solus.
You might
Zoom.
snap thinking about all this. I
A
mean,
snap for Zoom. Michael, what do you think? Can somebody help me make a snap for Zoom?
But isn't Zoom
So I'm
proprietary?
gonna go for a bit.
Yeah.
But see, I can help a little bit, but that's an issue. Like if you said I needed to use this open source thing that no one's doing, like yeah, I can build that for you. If I'm sure, I can give you a snap code to build that. But it's a lot harder for proprietary stuff because you've got to get the binaries for them, and they don't always provide those, and blah blah blah.
That's like somebody was having an argument the other day on a stream why DirectX hasn't been implemented in Linux because you can't get the source.
Yeah, that's a weird thing because it's
Someone
reverse
was
engineered.
arguing that's why someone was saying about Vulkan was going to be the savior for
Yeah, it
Linux
is.
games.
Well, hopefully
It literally
is.
is. Absolutely. It will
How
be.
long has it been in the making?
2 years?
Oh,
Look,
that's
how
okay.
long has XFCE been in the making?
How long is this current
But
version?
XFCE works at the moment.
You're right. It does.
XFCE works. It's got an actual
Vulkan for some
body
games.
out there. Yeah.
There's Vulkan support for some games already.
Yeah,
Quite a few.
there is.
Like what? Warhammer came out with Vulkan support recently.
Warhammer, Doom. There's a couple.
Yeah, a
But
lot.
is Vulkan like
Yeah,
Wayland?
sometimes.
Never works with NVIDIA.
No. Vulkan has a partnership with NVIDIA.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
Vulkan has the reason why Vulkan is fantastic is not only because it's a replacement to OpenGL, which it is, but it's because it has a partnership with so many companies that are fundamental to the manufacturing of computers. Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, they all are in agreement with Vulkan. And there are so many other companies that are also in the foundation for Vulkan. And the people who make OpenGL are the ones who make Vulkan too. So it's great. It's going to be a little while before it becomes like the standard, but like it's already making massive progress, and it's only been like 2 years or so, and they've already got a full 1.0 release. They've already got huge API abilities for games to be already supported. Like, they are doing a lot of work really fast, and it's fantastic.
Well, I think Vulkan is great because of Spock.
That too.
That too.
Yeah.
The other thing,
you also got to take into consideration how long it takes to turn over a game from start to finish too. And you know, these games have already been started, and they're not going to go rewrite everything to work with Vulkan. You know, you got to start the game with Vulkan, so it's going to be a little bit, but it's
Feral
it's
Interactive to talk about their work with Vulkan and how they're doing games that are porting games with Vulkan and with OpenGL, and the difference between the two and why they like Vulkan. It's a really interesting talk, and probably not to everybody, but it's really cool. Anyway,
you got a link?
No, I can get one. But not right now because not really. I don't. It's a talk on a YouTube channel in a playlist from a conference that I don't remember what conference it was.
Okay, all right.
So I'll have to dig.
I'm interested.
Bookmarks. But yeah, Vulkan is fantastic, and it's going to. The best part about it is that it's the reason why it's going to replace DirectX even is because it's portable. It's cross-compatible with Windows and Linux and Android, and it will also be made on for Mac as well. So, like, if you use Vulkan, you have incentive that you can have all your game work on any platform that Vulkan supports, which is almost all of them. They're going to have iOS support too eventually, but they already have Linux and Windows and Android. So that's a fantastic start for something that's not been out very long.
Totally assimilated.
Yes.
So here's the thing,
resistance is futile.
That's right.
Find that YouTube video for your show on Sunday.
Yep.
It was on one of my shows. It was
You just got to remember which one.
Instead of we are the Borg, we are Vulkan. You'll be assimilated. Microsoft, you hear us?
Well, they're fighting it, but they're going to lose because so many companies and including game developers and stuff are already moving to it. Like, that doesn't mean that the game is automatically supported on another platform. They still have to make the port stuff. It's just the port stuff goes from a whole other development branch to like 10% extra work.
Yeah, so basically what happens is when somebody makes a game, they don't have to make something work on this one, and this one. They can make it work on Vulkan, and it will automatically work on all of them.
Mm-hmm. And someone, Charlie said so that Mac has mentioned they refuse to support Vulkan. Yeah, but they don't have to support it. It doesn't matter. Like, they have APIs out that make it where you can make stuff for Mac support. They might not be in the Mac store, but you can still use it. And Metal is the thing that Apple's doing that's like trying to compete with Vulkan, but because Vulkan has this, such a backing behind it, I bet Apple is going to give in at some point. They rarely give in to things, but this is one of the things they probably will. But there's the interesting thing about a history of Vulkan, it first started out as AMD's Mantle. And it's basically the same thing. Mantle and Metal started at the same time. They were competitors. They were both making a low-level API to work with games in the hardware and the kernel. And AMD said, we're going to make Mantle. And people were like, the developers were like, fantastic, great. When's it coming out? They're like, this is a lot of work. Maybe we won't make Mantle after all. And then the Kronos group said, hey, we'll do it. And they did it. And that became Vulkan.
Interesting.
Kronos group are the people who make OpenGL, by the way.
Now, you'll be quiz on this tomorrow, so study this. Yeah.
There will be. And I will ace it.
Of course.
But there's, it's the best part about it is that there's no barrier with Vulkan. Like, it's going to support Windows, which game developers only care about Windows anyway right now. Like, the Mac is it's pretty much irrelevant. They don't care.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing with Linux. Mac and Linux are basically like, whatever. Why would we bother?
Yeah.
But with Vulkan, it's like so much little work. Like that's a broken sentence. It's so little work that they have so much more incentive to do it. They're like, we can spend an extra month to make it work on Linux and don't have to write an extra, anything else. And we get a whole other platform of people to buy our stuff. Why would we not do that?
Yeah. Because it's all about the money and the time and everything.
Yeah, right now it's like we have to. Here's this: we're developing for Windows. We have this other thing we got to develop for Windows. When you just set it on top, it's like meh. Like it's the amount of effort and the amount of money that come from that effort is astoundingly different. Like it goes from an astronomical amount of effort to an astronomical amount of money for very little effort. Like that's fantastic. So Vulkan will take over, but right now it's still in the it's in a stable release. They can use it. It's just not prominent at all.
What's the YouTube channel of Ski's clone? What does that mean, Zep?
Yeah.
Sounds great, but consoles and mobile is where the money is. PC's the last concern. Sure.
For gamers, it's the absolute. That's completely not true.
It's true though. Well, no, not for gamers. He's talking
Vulkan's
for.
games.
He's talking.
Vulkan is
for,
mostly game stuff. Like
he's talking companies making money. They're concerned about making games for console more than they are about PC. That's what he's talking about.
I disagree.
I think man.
That's a good example.
Hardcore gamers play on PC, from what I understand.
Absolutely. And Charlie just made a great example of PUBG. Mm-hmm. PUBG came out of nowhere. It's been around for just a few months, and it is dominating. It has become the top 5 played game in Steam, and it's early access. It's buggy as crap. Like, it is so broken. It's fun, though. It's super fun. And it's only on Windows.
Okay.
There's no console thing. They have no intention of making a console game. And
I mean, for me, the console has been more convenient to buy and play games. But from what I understand, hardcore gamers, they love their $3,000 or $4,000 gamer PC and just play on that.
You don't have to convince me because I'm a PC gamer.
Okay.
All right. I'm saying, and I kind of agree with what Steve had said about the fact that they only care about consoles. It's like the new Call of Duty coming out. It's one of those games where you think it could be really good, and you think they really are concerned this time about PC gamers, and then slow and surely you see like things slide over to say, oh well, you know what, they're pretty much going for console gamers here.
I don't want to be like, I don't want to be that guy, but Rocket League. So English Bob said, sorry, you're wrong. Hardcore gamers don't make game publishers money for the masses. The masses do, and they use phones and consoles. Okay, so the popularity created for Rocket League was made by PlayStation Network when they released it for free for like a day or two. It became like or maybe it was a week, actually. It was a week. They were super popular. Psyonix came out in a documentary and explained, if they had not made that game for PC, they would have went bankrupt. Absolutely guaranteed bankrupt. Because PlayStation was going to screw them. So they came out on PC. PC saved the company and made the money. They say that they make way more money on PC by metric of 10 than they do on PlayStation on consoles. They still make money on consoles for sure, but the PC one is way more involved. And and also another example for reason why consoles don't get as much attention in the hardcore gamer market is because streamers do not use consoles to stream. There may be a few, but the majority of like 80% of them that I've ever seen are all PC users.
Well, the next Halo 6 will be available for PC also. Yeah.
And that's going to change. I bet the vast majority of people who play that game will be PC users.
That's a good point though, because Destiny 2 just came out, or it is coming out. The beta's out for PC now, and it was a console game, and now it's on PC. So yeah, that is a good point.
Well, they don't have to make consoles, do they? And everybody downloads the game themselves, so there's a lot less for them to worry about. All they do is collect the money, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wouldn't it
it's
be?
just digital copies. Yeah, they don't have to worry about the overhead.
Yeah, stands to reason for PC.
Yeah, so it's just like the market for PC. It's always been an argument between PC gamers and and who's a hardcore gamer, whatever. Like the hardcore gamers always been the PC people, but the PC people, there's been an argument whether they bring the most money or not. When you have examples like Dota, which I'm pretty sure is only a Windows PC game, that game brings in millions of dollars per event. They have people paying, like 75,000 people paying to watch a game in the audience and not even playing it. And then they had to pay $100 to get into the event. Like, that is like a massive amount of money available for people, and that's a game that's PC only. So that's just one example, and you can give multiple. Yes, it's not on Linux. Dota is not on Linux, but actually, is it? I think it is.
I'll tell you in a second here.
He's in it as a question. Okay, that makes more sense. Yes, Dota is on Linux. I didn't think about that. You're right, but it is a PC game. I meant that it was only on PC. I think that I just like blurted out Windows too. But the point is that these games bring in so much money because it's not just about playing the game anymore. It's about the experience of the whole community of the game. There's the streamers, there's the YouTubers, there's like, if you look at a lot of these games, they're not doing takedowns. Oh, you have our gameplay like Sony and Microsoft are doing when you put a game up there. Like all of that stuff is like being ignored because all the indie game developers are like, oh, you want to play our game? Thank you. We want to tell hundreds of thousands of people about our game. Thank you. So, like, all of these games are like focusing on PC because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitch was, if you don't know, Twitch was already existed as a live stream company with Justin.tv. Then Justin.tv didn't work. It had bad branding. It had bad goals. It just didn't work. Then they made games only Twitch. And it exploded to the point where Amazon bought them. So you have this thing where it's a completely niche thing of just streaming games as just a Twitch streamer, and that is enough to justify a multi-billion-dollar purchase from Amazon. Like, it is definitely a big market, and I would say probably, if not more, at least equally to the market of consoles.
Couple of years ago, when Alien Isolation came out, was that on PC also? Alien Isolation, because I remember seeing. Okay,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember, because I was curious about the game. They said it was better than some of the movies, but someone or multiple people posted the entire game without commentary, just watching it as one long movie. I thought that was. I mean, it was like uploaded in parts, but I thought that was kind of cool. But
yeah, I have the game. It's really good game.
Yeah, from what I saw, and somebody put up the cutscenes as a movie. I mean, especially to the last Alien movie. God, really, what are you doing, man? But
there are some people who are okay with it. There's some companies that are okay with it. For example, it got people like the story mode in Mortal Kombat was fantastic, but people were like, Mortal Kombat doesn't have a story. What?
Yeah.
So they uploaded the story.
Well,
Mortal Kombat 9. And then Mortal Kombat 10 comes out, and they're like, well, this is going to have a story mode too, then we should get it because it's going to be fun. It's a fun game plus a cool story. That's awesome.
Well, Alien Isolation was an excellent story that could have been, I mean, that title could have been a movie. It could have been a feature film, Alien Isolation. I think it had some of the original voice characters in it, like Sigourney Weaver or whatever. But that game, I mean, I didn't buy it. I was going to, but I asked my son if he was, you know, like if he was going to play, he says, nah, Dad, okay, well, then I'm not going to buy it. But I saw someone play the whole thing. It's an excellent game. That could have been a movie easily. You know, but you see a movie like Alien Covenant, which I did, I'm like, oh my God, the script's so stupid, you know. Great special effects, but I'm not the only one about Alien Covenant. I mean, it's fun to watch. If you've seen the movie, if you haven't, I won't spoil it. But like, I'm looking at the movie and I'm like, who wrote this script? But yeah, Alien Isolation, the way it was written and like the atmosphere of it, everything was really good. But yeah, it's one of those things. If it's on PC, it's probably more convenient to stream, I would imagine. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you can tell. I don't know if you can stream it, but I mean, you can definitely probably stream the gameplay a little bit. Like,
yeah,
as far as putting on YouTube, maybe not, because the licensing for streaming is different. So they might be able to do it for streaming.
Okay, so maybe just to record it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're providing you're promoting this as like like most game companies now are doing it. Like there were like probably like 2013 or so, 2012 or so is when it's really started picking up, where game companies were like, we're totally on down with it. Advertise the crap out of our stuff for free. Totally do that.
Yeah.
Have fun. In case now people are doing, like, companies are doing like crates for their games, so you get free items and stuff. That items are irrelevant usually. They just look cool or something. And not only are they getting these YouTubers and streamers to promote this game for free, they're paying them to promote it. They're paying for the right to promote.
Yeah.
They're paying.
They're
buying keys and buying all these things, and they're spending a ton of money.
Well, it's publicity. It's marketing.
Yeah, because they get attention, then the game gets attention.
Yeah.
Like, it benefits both, and the game's also getting attention and money from it. Like,
right.
They really have no reason not to let it happen.
When I post the Asphalt 8 videos, every once in a while, I'll get a copyright notice. It's not a strike. YouTube says, don't worry about it, you're good, but the ads go to the developer of the game versus, like, the ad revenue goes to them and not me. And I'm cool with that because I enjoy playing the game.
But will they pay me if I'm crap at the game?
They don't pay you, actually. It's when I said it the first time, I was wrong. The streamers are paying the company for the right to play the game at this point.
Wow.
Because, like, for example, there's Rocket League, PUBG, CSGO, Overwatch. They all have these things called crates where you get items in the crates, and the items are usually worth nothing as far as gameplay. They're just cool items, and people want those items to put them in the game on their character or whatever. So but in order to get those items, you have to get a crate. And there's all these there's like actual trade markets for all of these games, and people buy and sell these items in the market, or they buy crates and then pay money to open those crates. You have to buy, like, for example, with Rocket League, it's one key to open one crate, but you have to buy that crate if you don't get it automatically. Like, you can get it a drop, but people say, oh, I got a drop, I'm gonna now sell this crate, and then they'll pay for that crate, then they'll pay to open it, and all the money is technically going to Psyonix because the money is based through keys and not actual dollars. So the market is effectively helping the game company, and that's only one key is $1, whereas in PUBG it's $2.50 for one key. So they do more because they're doing, like, prestigious crates, like where Rocket League does one crate at a time, PUBG does like 3 at a time, and they're like unleashing it over and over. So these streamers are paying money to buy keys, to open crates, to buy crates themselves, and to buy items too. And all that money is going directly to the company because they're using the currency of the game. And in order to use that currency, you have to spend real money. So they're paying that company the right to basically promote for free their game. But it also helps them because the streamers make a ridiculous amount of money that I'm shocked that they do. But they make a lot of money from streaming and a lot of money from Twitch because, I mean, not Twitch, but YouTube, because most of these games don't lock the copyright. They don't copyright the monetization. They go, they thank them. You're giving us money and you're giving us advertisement. They're probably not watching our game. They're probably watching you play the game. So it's your content. We're fine with that.
Right. Well, it's like the first time I saw Alien Isolation was on a YouTube channel, Artist Caleb, and he does walkthroughs on all kinds of games. And it's an awesome channel. If you like watching people play a game, he's a good one to watch because he's hilarious as he's playing it. Like, he's just one of those guys that's always joking around, never serious, and it's a blast. Just I have more fun watching his videos play the game than I actually do playing the game itself. So, but that was the first time I saw that, and I was always wondering how he could get away with, playing the whole game basically. He did it in like a series of videos. He played the whole game and there was no copyright problems.
Yeah, it happens a lot. There's especially with the games that have like the replayability that's insane, like PUBG and Rocket League and Overwatch. The replayability of those games is massive. So I watch a lot of YouTubers who do Rocket League stuff, and there's a couple I watch that do a Rocket League episode every single day. They do other games too, but they do at least one Rocket League a day, and that's because the Rocket League Psyonix doesn't have a problem with it. And the same thing with the PUBG Player Unknown is also the same. They don't have a problem with you doing as many as you want. The hard thing about PUBG is that it takes a lot more effort to make those, because a game like Rocket League takes like 30 minutes. A game like PUBG takes like 30 minutes per round, and if you have a bad game, you're going to lose within 30 seconds, and then you score 10 minutes, and then you have absolutely no action for 10 to 20 minutes, and at the very end you're like a little bit of action, you're dead. So that game is really hard to put YouTube videos, so it's they put them out sporadically, but they stream that game all the time. So like there's so much, but because the companies are not trying to like take the monetization of the videos, it gives them incentive to make more videos. And because they have there's a lot of these people have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and views every time, that they have enough to just play that game and have a living. Like there's a streamer I know, I don't know him, but I know they're of a streamer, and they say how many, like they give incentive of ridiculous things that are like, emoticons and stuff, like nothing really that important, but like it's more like a thank you that you're supporting me kind of thing. But they show how many subscribers they have on Twitch, and to be a subscriber on Twitch you have to pay money. So you can follow someone for free, but to be a subscriber on Twitch you have to pay $5 minimum every month. Right. So there's a couple people who have like 2,000 subscribers on Twitch. So if you add up the money potentially they make from the amount of views they get on YouTube, plus the subscribers they get on Twitch, they get there's people who have like $20,000 a month playing video games.
Yeah, I gotta find out. The guy that I normally watch, Jack Frags, he must have a ton of subscribers.
Yeah, they usually have like a listing on their stream when they stream live. They have here's our sub goal. This is how many we have. This is how many we want, and they typically do that.
So that $5 a month for Twitch, that goes to the streamer or
to
Twitch,
the streamer?
or
to the streamer.
All of it. All of it.
No, there's like a 10% to 20% that goes to Amazon.
That's interesting. Well, I'm going to stream myself to bed now, guys. So
there's actually a really cool thing that Amazon.
I'll catch you guys next time. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Because Amazon bought Twitch, you can, and if you have Amazon Prime, you can give a subscriber for free to any Twitch streamer you want, and it's through it's like Twitch Prime through Amazon. So if you already have it, you could just go say, "Hey, I like your content. Here's $5." And it costs you literally nothing, but it gives them
really,
yeah. And there's a lot of streamers that have only that, like they don't have people who do it just because they want to, and it's still enough to continue doing it on a daily basis.
So on my Amazon Prime account, you're saying I can donate to somebody and it won't cost me anything?
Correct. Any Twitch streamer you want.
Wow.
Because Amazon owns Twitch as well, they made this little structure.
I didn't realize that because I have Prime myself.
You can do it to anybody.
You're going to get $5.
And you don't even have to say it's this person. You don't have to say I want to give to this person, and it just continuously happens. You can say this month this person, this month this other person, blah blah, and it costs you nothing.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
And where do where do you go? Like where do you go?
You go to
for that?
Twitch, and there's a section that says Twitch Prime, and it's in the drop down notifications. It'll say, "Have you heard of Twitch Prime?" And you just click that, and it'll take you to link your account with both accounts.
Well, it's already linked.
Oh, well then
Mine's
you just
already
say,
linked.
you just click that you want to subscribe to someone, and it'll say, "Do you want to subscribe? Here's money," or "Do you want to use your Twitch Prime account?"
Ah, okay. There you go. Okay.
So it's quite lucrative for streamers for sure. Before the Amazon purchase in 2014, it wasn't as lucrative, but it has gotten way better.
Well, I don't know how many things Jack Frag has as far as people, but he has like 230 some thousand followers on Twitch. So it's ridiculous.
It is, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many are subscribers, but he has over 200,000 people following him anyway.
Probably. Usually what happens is streamers have anywhere between a few hundred to a few thousand on Twitch. And they have way more on Twitter. And if they're YouTubers, way more on YouTube. That's typically what I've seen of like a dozen streamers. Like if they post their stuff, if they don't post stuff on YouTube, they don't get as much attention. But the people on YouTube the YouTube is their big base, and each subset network is lower and lower. And Twitch is usually the lowest, but it's the one they put the most time in typically, because it's the most like direct to the viewer.
Right.
So like these people are typically running like 4 to 6 hour streams every day. But English Bob said something in the chat about how long will the PC survive because the most used device in the future will probably be mobile. I agree. The most used device will probably be mobile. I disagree that the PC will ever die.
Yeah,
because
it won't.
Yeah, it won't. Developers need PCs. Gamers need PCs. A mobile platform is nowhere remotely going to be possible to be a gamer or a streamer or a whatever.
Well, there's too much money involved in making of the games to let a PC die.
Yeah, that's
there's just too much money involved. So it will always be there.
Yeah, I agree.
Plus, if I've got a chance to watch something on a PC or watch something on a phone, I'll choose a PC every single time.
Absolutely.
I only use a phone when I absolutely have to. Like I'm out like at a store or something, I'll use the
out and about.
Yeah, that's nothing else. But the gaming industry, I wouldn't say it's the cornerstone, like the pinnacle for the reason why PC is going to stay. I think it's a huge factor, but also the developers are not going to be developing on mobile. Like you can get a Bluetooth keyboard, but that's still torturous. Like why would you do that? Why would you have a tiny little screen with a tiny little keyboard when you have a full-size multi-monitored thing of all of your stuff built up, set up, and all your IDEs and everything? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm sure a few will, but for the most part, it's not going to happen. So there's a bunch of industries that are not going to go there. There are other industries that absolutely will go to mobile. Like hotels will start using tablets in the front room, foyer, whatever. And you can log in and say I want to check in with this and blah blah, and it'd be a lot easier to use a mobile device for that.
Yep. Well, what else you got before we close this down?
Someone said something earlier that was interesting. Oh, I just wanted to say because it's funny because someone said back in the day, Rocket League had a weird name.
Yeah. So somebody said that. I forget who it was.
Yeah, okay, I can't remember. I can't find it right now. But it was supersonic rocket powered. No wait, supersonic acrobatic rocket powered battle cars. Which
that was what Rocket League was.
Yeah. In 2006 they released that, and in 2012 they released Rocket League. Like, yeah, much better decision.
Better choice.
It was Charlie Brown who said it.
Okay, cool.
Well, there you go,
629.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the name, and
You'll have to type that into the chat because no one will remember what you just said.
I don't want to type
You
it.
can remember it.
There you go.
Hey, Lamer, what's going on, man?
That'd be a good password to use. Type it out every time.
It might be, yeah.
So I see Ubuntu's bringing out their own dock. Yeah, has anyone discussed that?
Well, are they just? I think they just said they're using dash to dock.
No,
Modified.
Who, no? I mean,
modified.
Ubuntu?
Yeah, Ubuntu.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's not dash to dock. It's a like a variation of dash to dock.
Right. It's
Because they don't want as many settings as dash to dock offers.
That's
Right.
right.
That makes sense. Like they're trying to be like, here's the out of the box option. You know, getting too many features and too many settings is putting for some people. You know, no one has ever said anything like that about KDE ever.
But this is where I find stuff really frustrating because I hear everybody talking about Latte dock being the biggest thing that's coming out just now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why doesn't somebody port Latte dock across to Ubuntu? Or
Because
is it not?
it's Qt.
Oh, it's Qt.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 100% exclusively Qt. It could work in LXQt, maybe.
So
but
are you
it's
saying that it could work in Solus once Budgie goes to Qt?
It is potentially possible. Yes.
So why do they keep taking features away? I mean, isn't it easy? If a feature's there, somebody can go, I like that or I don't like it. Turn it on, turn it off. Why do they do that?
So many people like this is a fantastic question, mainly because that question can be applied to KDE, and everyone says it's overwhelming. If you're not a KDE fan, you go, that's overwhelming. That's way too many things. So when you apply to something else, it's the same thing. People would be overwhelmed because there's too many features in something else. Like, not if you have, you know, Unity doesn't have a lot of features and so settings at any point it did, but it had the Unity tweak tool that gave you even more settings. Most people didn't bother to install that, whether they knew it existed or not. A vast majority of people did not use it. So they just wanted it to be, here's how it is, use it, and they're like, cool, get out of my way. So like, that's what they're kind of doing with the dash to dock approach. That's
pretty much. So it's going to be like Windows. I mean, you use Windows, you use it as it is, and that's pretty much the way they did Unity, isn't it? So new people use it, they know what it's like. This is where everything is, and don't play with it. Just use it. That's the whole plan, is it? Pretty much, in a nutshell.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
They're going to give a little bit of control and stuff, and the extension system itself is going to give some stuff to it, you know, overall. But yeah, I would say that for the majority of it, it is definitely use it. Here it is. Hope you enjoy. You know, otherwise, have a good day.
So I'm looking at it too much from a I love to tweak point of view, and that's probably why that question pops up in my mind all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. It also, that same question applies to Unity when it was around for years, you know? The same problem that people had with Unity was like, well, I want to tweak Unity. Like, I like how it starts, but there are a few things I don't like, and Canonical was like, that sucks for you, I guess. Like, this is what we want.
Yeah.
This is what we want. This is what we're doing. And unfortunately, you don't agree with it. So, you know, there's other things. Enjoy those. And it's fine. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that approach. It's the same approach Elementary has.
Yes,
you know?
it is.
There are so many things. And it's pretty much the same approach that Solus has with Budgie. But they also offer other things too. But, like, it's pretty much just like, here's what it is. I hope you enjoy. And I don't see a problem with that, really. But it does keep people away who are tinkerers.
That's exactly right. It does keep people away, and they could have more people using it if the tinkerers were allowed to tinker.
Push away the people who don't want to tinker. A lot of people don't even like to even think about Linux because they go, that's the nerdy thing for people who like to mess with computers. So
Okay, sorry guys, I've got to go because I can hear my grandson rattling about. So it's 7 a.m. here, UK time.
All
all
right,
right,
man.
see ya.
Great show.
Have a good
Thanks
one.
a lot.
See Zeb.
So it's kind of like, you know, it's a similar situation where, you know, if you can't please everyone, right? So
True.
you try
That's
to go
true.
for the lowest denominator. That seems like an insulting thing to say, actually, now that I think about it. But it's like the most people who are going to benefit from this is what their approach is. So the vast majority of people don't care about tweaking. So they offer a little bit of tweak, and then, you know, everybody else uses something else. But and the best part about Canonical is like they recognize, you know, what they want to use is not necessarily the best for everyone, so they do the official flavors. It only took 1 year for Canonical to go, you know, let's make another one. But they didn't want to do it themselves because they didn't have the effort. They didn't have the time to do it. They, you know, there was only like 10 people in the beginning of Canonical. And when they decided they wanted to do that, they had a, you know, they had a conversation with KDE, and then Kubuntu came out from that. So Kubuntu, within a year of the first release of Kubuntu comes out, and you have this, you know, seemingly continuous thing that they just keep doing. They make a Ubuntu GNOME, they make Ubuntu Mate, they make a, like, they're not against people using their platform as something to tweak however they want it. They're just like, you know, this particular thing we want is what we're going to do. And, you know, that's fantastic. As long as they provide other options, whether they actually do it or not and they develop it or not is, you know, not the point, because they provide the infrastructure, and that's a massively important part. Like when Ubuntu Mate first started out, they didn't have support with Canonical. They weren't a part of the infrastructure. And Martin said that it costs a lot of money to provide all the packages and all the ISOs and stuff, that he had, like, every single donation that was ever given to Ubuntu Mate was to support that. And now that they have the infrastructure from Canonical, from the official flavor, they have so much more they can do, that they are now taking the money that they were getting and having to throw it out to everything else, that they now can, you know, put it into other projects and help other people build other things and all this other stuff. It's fantastic. And it's because Canonical is open to not just doing their own thing.
Well, speaking of Ubuntu Mate, I downloaded the daily build because the save panel layout wasn't working, but it wasn't working in the daily build either. I don't know if it's me or whether I've grabbed the wrong one, or maybe it's just not working until they bring it out on 17.04 or something. I don't know. 17.10 or whatever it is.
I do know that they've supposedly fixed one of the bugs in the HUD. I had said last week that the HUD wasn't working. It wouldn't come up all the time with the super key, and they apparently switched it to just use Alt, I think.
Right.
It was Super Alt.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was Super Alt. I think they switched it to just use Alt, and it's supposed to be fixed now.
Their goal eventually was to do just Alt, but they had to do a placeholder because they didn't have time to develop it yet. So they were like, here's a release for the Alpha 2. The next Alpha will totally have Alt as a thing, because that's what Unity users are expecting, because that's how you do it in Unity. So, like, they were eventually going to do that anyway. So it's fantastic they've already done it.
Well, the problem wasn't the key selection. The problem was that it wasn't working. It wouldn't come up.
Saying, like,
it would only come up like 25% of the time.
Well, I'm saying, like, one of the reasons it probably didn't work on everybody's system, because it worked on mine, but it didn't. I'm not surprised it didn't work on everything, because they have to keep the development of, you know, all the hardware support and stuff like that. Was probably because they were doing a placeholder structure, like, this is coming, but, you know, this is an alpha, right? So
right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
If something doesn't work, it's going to work eventually. And the fact that they are already switching to Alt before they even do the full release is fantastic, because that means there can be no barriers for people who switch from Unity to Unity.
Yep.
And their Mutiny desktop just looks fantastic, I reckon. Just looks.
Well, they have done so much to make it work this time. You know, like in the last version of it, it kind of looked like it, but it didn't really work well. And this time it really works well.
The HUD is fantastic as far as like the support of all the Windows and all the different applications. The fact that it supports all the GTK stuff, it supports the CSD stuff, it supports the Qt applications and stuff like that's fantastic. Only Unity ever had that. So like all the other options that are, GNOME's making their global menu and our HUD, and the same thing's happening with Plasma. They're making one, but they all have these little things that are falling apart. Somewhere it doesn't work, somewhere it does, blah, blah. But with Mate, they were like, we're going to make it work when you first use it. And like, fantastic. That is the absolute best. And it was very solid for an alpha release too. Like, it's kind of shocking, honestly.
No, it was shocking. That's why I did a video on it, because I don't ever do a video on an alpha. I mean, that's ridiculous. But it worked so well. I mean, it was almost like not running an alpha.
Yeah, the fact that he said, when I first talked to Martin, he said, well, this is coming. I was like, but is it going to support CSDs? Like everything? Because no one else does. He's like, yep, already does.
Wow.
Like that blew me away right there. Like the fact that my joke about how it's not going to support something is like, I was just shut down completely. It's like, it's fantastic.
Well, Charlie said, does Ubuntu Mate still have the Amazon spying back end?
Oh, okay. Never had it at all, ever.
Yeah, that was Unity, right?
Well,
that was Unity.
Two things. All the official flavors never had Amazon integration. Unity had Amazon integration, never spying on you ever. That's a lie, myth, whatever you want to call it. Because people said things without checking it and then just spread it over and over and over. And reality was, all of these stuff that was in the Amazon results, when you searched for it and it showed that thing back, you know why it took forever? And you know why the results were always awful? Because they tried to do a security thing. All of the stuff you sent was going to Ubuntu servers and then going to Amazon servers. So Amazon never knew who you were, never spied on you, never had the ability to have any idea who you are. It was going to Ubuntu. But because there's no tracking, there's no good result. Like, that's the problem. That's why tracking is there to, isolate. Here's what you search for. Here's what you clicked and what you wanted. Now we can improve our results. But because the results never got any better, it's because they were doing that buffering thing, which was a security aspect. So yes, the Amazon thing was dumb because the results were awful, but it wasn't spying. And it never was.
Well, yeah, but I think it depends on your definition of spying, because there's two things there. One, you're talking about, okay, it may not have went to Amazon servers, but most users did not expect their start menu, their menu at all, results to go to any outside server.
Right. But
Correct?
in spying implicitly implies that they are tracking you, but they're not.
Yeah, but for me as a user, I'm not okay. I'm worried about spying and everything, but I'm not. But like I said, I don't want my menu results to go out to a server anywhere. So whether that you consider that spying or whatever you may consider that, it shouldn't be there.
I understand completely and 100% agree. It was a very horrible, dumb decision that they made, but it does not make it spying.
Okay,
that's the problem, because he said the Amazon spying thing. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't spying, and Amazon didn't have any information. So, like, that's the. And there's,
I'll agree with the crap part.
It was crap. I agree completely. It was crap. Like, when I first used it, when it first came out in 12.10, I was actually a Unity user at the time, because 12.04 was fantastic. Not because the Compass sucked, but they had a Qt version of Unity in 12.04, and it was awesome. Like, I used that all the time exclusively, loved it. Because the HUD was there, Dash was there, the gold menu was there, everything was fantastic. Then they released this Amazon thing in 12.10, and it's like, that's dumb. That's a terrible idea. It doesn't work. The results are crap. You search. This is my favorite example of how horrible it was. You know the CD burner application, Brasero?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the results started to give them to you before you finished typing. So I typed bra for Brasero. And hey, would you like to buy a bra from Amazon? No idea.
Yeah.
So it's like, that is a terrible problem that they made, that they forced upon themselves. Like, they screwed up, but it wasn't spying. Like, that's the part that
Should have been a choice. Should have been a choice. That's what it should have been.
It's exactly. It should have been a choice to opt into.
Yeah.
Instead of just
yes and no.
yes, no. It should have been a choice.
Business side, no. Not annoying people, yes.
Business side shouldn't play a role in desktop Linux.
Desktop Linux would not exist without business side.
But you're not going to convince any user out there that's set to say that, yeah, do you mind? Oh, wait, you know what? Don't worry about minding. We're not even going to ask you. We're just going to put this in. I mean, that's not how you run a business.
Yeah, it is. The most companies.
That's not how you run a successful business.
That's not true either. Most people don't ask you what you want; they just do it, and you go. You
no,
either buy or you
yes,
don't.
but you have to run a business in such a way that you're not going to inflame your user base as well, too. I mean, you're not going to just throw out something out in your business and have every user hate it and then say, oh, well, you know, I mean, Microsoft does that, but I mean, most normal businesses are not going to do that. They have to take care of what their users want. They're not just going to be able to put anything they want in there.
That's what they
and
do.
what do
do
want that?
Linux does. Like, I don't understand. Literally, every single one of them make decisions for you. You don't build the kernel. You don't build the packages.
But you're right. But there's a line that you cross. Yeah, you're right. You don't. Nobody cares about the kernel as far as a desktop user is concerned. But when you start crossing that line, and I think
not true.
Adding your search results from your menu going out to an outside server, it's crossing that line. Then you have to pay attention to what you're doing.
Okay.
For what applications you put in your desktop, nobody, you make the decisions you want.
Okay. Partially agree, partially don't. My agreement is based on the Amazon search thing. Dumb. Like, straight up dumb. Not tracking, not spying at all. People who say it's spying, saying it's tracking, they are spreading misinformation. It is not true.
It's dumb.
However,
it's a privacy concern, is what it is.
It's not even a privacy concern. It doesn't go anywhere. Like, they're not tracking who you are.
People don't know that, though, do they?
But they don't know that. But they don't know that. They just jump to a conclusion without having any evidence. And
that's why it's dumb.
It's going somewhere. It's going to an outside server.
Yes, but your information about you is not going anywhere. There is no reference to you.
But my search in a menu is about me. I don't want that going out.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good idea. It was a terrible
idea. A terrible idea, and it's a privacy concern.
A super awful idea. And in a way, you could argue it was bloat. It was terrible. It made your menu look like garbage. Like, it was bad. But the decision to put it in default is not a bad business decision. Like, putting something by default as an opt-out means more people will use it. The vast majority of anything you put as an opt-in, people are not going to use it because they don't know it exists. They don't watch news channels or streamers and stuff like that. They don't see our conversations or anything
but they
like
could
that.
have very easily put that in as an option when you install it. They could have very easily put in an option for the menu itself.
How many people?
Check the new features of this menu out.
The vast majority of users have two reactions. One, someone else installs it for them. They're good. The next one, they just give up because it's hard. Because they never installed Windows. They don't know how hard it is. It's not hard in it at all. But it is kind of confusing if you've never done anything like it. So you add extra things that you don't understand. Is it okay if we send this stuff for your search results to improve them and stuff? But what do you mean? Search results in our browser? I don't care. I'll click it. Yeah, sure. Oh, it's a dash. That's confusing. But what if they said dash? They would have no idea what that means.
Yes, but here's the thing. You have two different sets of people. One of the people that don't care, and I don't know where you fall into that as far as where you fall into sending data into servers. And there's other side of the coin where people do care about sending data to their servers, and I will never opt into something even less. Firefox, I opened it up and it said something about improvement, so I click on it and I want to know what it is, and it says, oh well, hey, you want to
Anonymize your
go
route
into
history, blah blah.
30 days of this other survey stuff. No, I don't want none of that. I don't want my stuff going out anywhere. So that is a very bad choice, and it goes over the line of just making something, checking a box to making it default. It goes over the line. It goes past that line of what what you expect from an operating system. Just like Windows goes over the line with all of its telemetry.
They don't expect an operating system. They don't care. They seem to not care about Microsoft. It seems there's still thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. There's not enough people to care.
But that's unfortunate. But it's the same.
But we're not talking about Microsoft. We're talking about the choice, or how
bad
of a choice it was.
They don't understand the choice. They don't even understand the choice. Like a lot of people, I tell them that they have privacy concerns and they should turn it off in their Windows 10. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have nothing to hide.
Yes,
that's kind of
the biggest thing that people say.
Yeah, that's most of the response. They're not recognizing that it doesn't matter that you don't have anything to hide. They're just taking it anyway. You shouldn't want that. You should want to stop it immediately. And I agree that I would not want any of my stuff to be sent to some random server that I don't know where it's going. I 100% agree. I'm not saying, and actually, Charlie said a good point that the default was a bad consumer choice. I agree with that completely. Sometimes you make a business decision that's good for the business that's bad for consumers. That happens. It's impossible to have something that's always perfect for everyone.
I think I would like to say, like, Ubuntu is probably one of the most popular distros within the Linux community, and yet they don't even have a welcome screen. And some of these things could be put in the welcome screen to teach people or to educate you on what's within. And a lot of distros are doing that now, and it surprises me that Ubuntu haven't done that at all.
Well, no.
And to be fair, it's only been happening for a year.
Right.
But GNOME has a welcome screen, and I don't know if...
but who started the welcome screen? The welcome screen? One distro started it, and then people just started copying it.
Linux Mint, wasn't it?
Nope. Ubuntu Mint.
Oh.
They started doing an actual welcome screen. Linux Mint is just Linux Mint is this one thing that has these icons that you just click around and things. They don't teach you anything. They just open other applications. Whereas
it is a welcome screen.
It's
just a terrible implementation of a welcome screen.
You can say the same thing about Unity. The first time Unity popped up, it's a little screen that has, here's all your keyboard shortcuts, and here's this little quick welcome message and stuff like that. They had the same bad thing, but it wasn't a solution. Like the first good solution was Ubuntu Monte's solution. And
their welcome screen's good.
Yeah, but that solution has only been around for a little while, so it will eventually become probably in Ubuntu. I say at least 1804 will have something like that.
Well, GNOME has, I don't think it's a welcome screen. It's an initial setup screen. I guess it is. And you go
I think it must be something like, I don't recall them.
You go through checkboxes and stuff.
Yeah, they do.
It is a welcome screen?
No, it's not a welcome screen. It's a setup screen. It's like how Windows OEMs do, where they put the system in, and you could like put your name in and put the thing in. So
but
instead
this
of having
after the install,
right? Because they don't do that stuff in the install.
Right.
They do it after the fact. So it's like it's kind of the same thing. It's just a different order.
Yep.
But like, I agree that there are things that Canonical did that were dumb. There are things that Canonical did that were awesome. So you can't, in my opinion, anyone who has a bad thing to say about Canonical, if their point is valid, absolutely say whatever you want. Like, you're entitled to your opinion. But if what you're saying is a lie and not true, I'm going to call that out. So maybe it's not even a lie. It's just you're perpetuating something that is a lie, but someone else told you, but you're not participating in the lie. You're participating in the misinformation. Mm-hmm. That still is something you should be pointed out. So the tracking thing, not a thing. The stupid aspect that they did in the first place at all, very stupid. You know, but they also do a lot of things that are fantastic. HUD, the idea of the HUD is awesome.
Yep.
And they're keeping it. Like, they're going to try to work on building a HUD in GNOME. That's fantastic. It's being copied in other DEs. Fantastic.
Are they building that as an extension, or are they building that into GNOME?
It's probably going to be an extension. Probably. I'd be shocked if they did it into GNOME, because that would require GNOME to, let it happen. And when did they ever listen to anybody? Really? If it benefits them, they will. If it doesn't, it's not a part of our vision. They're not going to do it. But that's. I mean, I'm not saying that KDE doesn't have like this same kind of situation, or Elementary doesn't have the same kind of situation where they don't listen to everybody who has input. Most of them don't. But with GNOME, it's more like we're not even gonna listen probably. And KDE is like, we don't want to do what you want to do. We don't like that idea. But there is the Plasmoid system. And you can do whatever you want. Have fun.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. Like, I think that approach is great. And Unity does a lot of cool things. The HUD, local integrated menus, fantastic. Saving space with the global menus, fantastic. They had a plethora, like 50 even good ideas that I could go if I went through a Unity in setup, and I could give you like probably 50 things that are like fantastic. Like, just, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. Well, Super 1, Super 2 to open the application on your launcher. Awesome idea. Great. Super quick. Not telling people that that's there. That's not a good idea. But it's a great option. It's not for me, but it's a great option for just the default. Like, a lot of people love that. It's like, oh, you just hit Super 1, and that's the one at the top of your panel. You're like, oh, cool. I've told people all the time, they're like, that's that easy. Sure. I don't have to build any custom shortcuts. It's just there. It's perfect. And and people are copying that. All the docs are copying that. It's like there are so many things that Unity did that are fantastic that other things are copying. And typically they're copying after Unity is gone, which is weird. But they did the things that were great ideas, and I'm happy that they are. There's
you don't know what you got till it's gone, Michael. That's the thing in life.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it because
No, of course, yeah.
Well, I mean, I knew it mainly because I used 1204 for a very long time. I think I got away from 1204 in like late 2013 is when I finally stopped using it. But it was fantastic. The annoying thing about Unity, and why they wasted so much money, is they rewrote Unity about 4 times. And they spent a lot of money rewriting it. But conceptually, design-wise, maybe not, but conceptually, functionally, awesome. Like, they made a lot of good decisions. I am a kind of a tinkerer. I like your design and your structure, but I want to change a little bit.
Yes.
Like, that's how I am. So I'm not an out of the box. I'm not a massive tinkerer, but I am I don't like this little bitty thing. I'm gonna change it. Unity did not mesh well with that, so I eventually stopped using it. But it still was a fantastic thing. I mean, you can say that's a lot of the DEs. You could say that about.
Yeah, but I think that's the one thing that hurt Unity the most in its adoption is the fact that you couldn't tinker with it. So many people put it on.
What adoption problem did they have? Was it because they were the most used distro in the history of all distros ever made? Is that a problem with their adoption? I don't think so. They are the
it's not a problem
definitive market champion and have been for a decade.
Of course, but they're not going to bring in people like you and me to use it. So you can be the market champion, and that's great. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not that. I'm saying they didn't bring in the masses because of that. How many people do you know?
They did bring in the masses. What do you mean?
How many people do you know right now? And I'm not talking people that get it installed for them. I'm talking about people that actually run and test Linux. How many people do you know that run Unity compared to KDE or
a small number percentage?
A small number.
Yes.
And that's what I'm talking about. Not the masses of, people in business and everything else. I'm talking about people like me and you are not going to run Unity. And I think that's what hurt them the most, is the fact that you couldn't change anything.
That hurt them the most in the Linux community of the mind share, not market share. Like, more people use Unity than anything else, more than likely, all combined.
Probably, yeah.
But because like it was the dominant. Oh, you ever notice that when you go around and you see these things like Linux in the wild, I found Linux, it's Unity. Almost every time. It is very rare you find something that wasn't Unity.
So, off topic, I was at the store and the chip reader for the card reader, it was having issues, so I unplugged it and I plugged it back in, and it's got a little label and it says Tux inside.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. But
anyway, go ahead.
What I was saying is that you see a display, you see like a menu, a digital menu display or something, or a display at like a terminal of a airport or a train station or whatever, and you see these, found Linux in the wild. It's almost always Unity. That you occasionally will find some other things that aren't, and that are super old and need to be updated, like 2.6 level ridiculous. But like overall, it's almost always Unity. Hey, we saw this cool company that's making this awesome thing. They're using Linux, Unity. Like it's just they were the dominant force, and Unity dominant. Like, but it's in the care of people.
If you was to give a new user a distro, just a friend or any Joe Blow, what would you give them? You probably wouldn't give them Unity though, would you? Because it would be too unfamiliar to them, wouldn't it?
Now, I would before.
No, back then you would.
Yeah, many times.
It's such an unfamiliar desktop though.
Most people don't care.
If they're coming from Windows, it's unfamiliar.
Who cares? They don't care. Here's most of the time I had a conversation with these people in these situations. I said, how do you use your computer? 80% of them. A few of them didn't do this way. A few of them demanded Windows-like environment. But most of them, I asked them, how do you use your computer? They're like, well, on my little bar at the bottom, I click the icon and I use the application. Or I click the icon on the desktop and I use the application. I was like, what if that icon was on the left side instead of the bottom? They're like, I don't care. Whatever. It's not a big deal. And then there's like, well, what can I have it on my can I have the icons on my desktop? I was like, yeah, sure. I have people who still now have Unity. I asked them one day, how often do you open the dash? You're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, my bad. The little top little button, his little weird symbol, little swirlies and things. How often do you click that button? They're like, never. Like, ever. And I had one person said, I click it one time because there's an application in there that you install for me, and I don't remember where. It's not on my little panel thingy. They said, I don't know what they said. They're like, it's not on the little side thing. And I was like, oh, that's the only reason you open it. They're like, yeah, I just moved it to the panel. Problem solved. It's like, it's that kind of thing that most people don't care. If it just loads what they want to load, uses what they want to use, they're done. They don't need extra, it doesn't have a menu, doesn't have a taskbar, then you're set. Like, they don't need that. A lot of people do need that, but there's a ton of people who don't care. Most people don't care, probably, because if you like,
that begs the question: why have they gone to the GNOME desktop then? If that's the case, I mean, that's a completely unfamiliar desktop to a lot of people, isn't it? The way that works, isn't it?
Except for the fact that Ubuntu's doing the whole the dock is always there, and it's a custom thing, so it's basically like a panel that's always there. They're kind of covering that part. Other things like that, the whole no menu thing, I think they're putting in the menu. I think they're putting applications menu. They might not. I think they are. I think they're going to try to like take GNOME and make it more not ridiculous.
More traditional?
More traditional.
Yeah, thank you. More traditional. Yes. That's what
ridiculous.
That makes
not
sense.
Ridiculous equals traditional.
That's what I meant.
Not ridiculous.
They're not trying to, Charlie. They're not trying to turn into Unity. I don't think they are. I think they're trying to make a little hybrid.
Okay. Yeah,
they're going to try to make.
I reckon the dash to dock probably on the bottom would probably be the default, wouldn't you think? I would have to think that would be the way they would go. Their new dock or something. No, just make it permanent on the left or something like that.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that.
No.
Especially if they're coming from Unity, and that's where they expect it to be.
Yep.
And Harry said the only thing that, they have a neat global menu that integrates in the title bar, nothing more. The HUD. If you've never used the HUD, you should install Unity right now and try the HUD, because it's awesome.
HUD is good.
I actually have the Unity installed on this. It was an original Unity install. I installed GNOME over top. So,
but yeah, I mean, you use the Unity for a while, right? And there are very good things about it. Like, there are things that are not good, and it's not for everybody. But there are some fantastic things, and the HUD is unequivocally, undeniably fantastic. Like, the fact that you don't have to have any idea where things are in your application, and you just know what it's called, and you just start typing in it, and you're done, and you get it to work. That's awesome. When I first started using it, it was fantastic. They even had a feature where you could just turn your computer off through the HUD. You just open HUD, hit Alt, type shut, enter, done, and it just shuts your computer down.
Nice.
That was fantastic. Now, they did make a stupid decision and remove that eventually. I don't know if it was my fault or not, but I had a conversation with some people on Ubuntu live stream on Hangouts, and I said, my favorite thing about the HUD is that it supports the system menu. You can reboot and shut down and all this other stuff. And then, the next release, it was gone. So maybe it was my fault. I don't know. But still. And they said they didn't even, one of them said, I didn't even know that was there. I didn't know that was possible. So maybe.
So we can blame you for that.
They did bring it back eventually. I think they didn't mean to do it, and it wasn't properly implemented, and they did bring it back. Okay. Now you can actually do it right.
So now you can get, so why don't you get, never mind, I won't even go there. Katie.
Why not? I never saw a point of typing stuff in the menu. Why not go back to DOS prompt? Some people don't think that's faster. It is in some cases. For example, let's say you have 20 applications. 20 applications is not going to fit all on this taskbar. It's going to be bulky and bloated and look terrible. So, let's say I want to open Telegram. I just hit, super key or whatever and hit type T and then enter, and I'm done. That's super fast. That's actually faster for people, a lot of people who are keyboard people. There's a lot of people who are more comfortable on the keyboard, because while they're typing, or while they're typing out something on email, while they're typing in, a post on Facebook or something or whatever, instead of going, okay, now I got to stop typing and I got to open my mouse and I got to move it, find where the mouse is on the screen. Then I got to move it to the thing, because, sometimes they hide away, because they have a mind of their own sometimes. And, it takes a little bit extra time. Or bam, 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 done. Super T, enter. Done.
Yeah, it depends, but it depends on the user, because like me, I'm kind of like a both. It depends on what mood I'm in as far as keyboard using or mouse. So like there'll be times where you're right. I'll be doing a couple things. I'll have a program open, typing an email or something, and I want to say turn on the music player or whatever. So I just hit the super key and start. It's like bam, way quicker than taking my hand off and moving the mouse and start finding something. So. But then there's other times where I just, I'm like laid back and just want to use the mouse. So it depends on what mood I'm in.
I agree. There are cases where, I also do that. But, there's many options to improve usability. And I don't think, and he was saying, I don't see the point. That's what I was saying. That's the point. Like,
there's a point.
There, it's much faster. And now, terminal is not always faster in opening things, because, you got to type out the whole thing. And you could say, well, you don't have to type out the whole thing. You can hit tab. Unless there's multiple versions of that thing in a different name, like, Epiphany. Oh, well, you need Epiphany-browser. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a little bit more ridiculous. Or you just hit super E Epiphany. It's
right.
Like there's or if maybe you have more than one E application, use EP. It's not much effort. like that's fantastic to me.
Well, wouldn't it be B for browser because they changed it?
It's W for web now.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I meant.
Still actually do the Epiphany thing too. It still works.
Okay. Will it
Because
work?
it's still technically the name of the application. They just changed the label. They didn't change the name. So if you type in E, it still works. But
Well, Cupzilla's changing their name, aren't they? Cupzilla? They're changing their name.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if they're changing their name. I didn't see that, but I did see that it's going to be an official KDE app. So
that's awesome.
I think it was Cup.
Terrible.
I'm pretty sure it was Cupzilla. Yeah, they're changing their name, Cupzilla. Definitely. So I think they're asking for people for a new name.
Cupzilla with a K. That's what they got to do.
Yep.
So speaking of keyboard shortcuts, that's probably the one thing that Ubuntu did do on the Unity was that little pop-up after install, wasn't it? That used to show you all the keyboard shortcuts, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, when you first open your computer, when it's first installed, it has a little thing. Here's all your shortcuts. If you hold super down, it also shows them again.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. It was a okay first thing. A lot of people went like, I don't care, whatever. It's a bunch of stuff I don't do, so whatever. And unfortunately, the way they presented it was not easily consumable for average people or new users. So they didn't understand what the stuff was, and it just looked like noise. So they just dismissed it most of the time.
Yeah.
I had a few people. I asked like probably a dozen people who've seen it, and they were. I think like half of them said they just immediately closed it and didn't even read it, and a few of them said they read it, didn't understand it, and closed it. I think one person took the time to actually like understand what each thing were and actually go, oh, okay, so if I hit this and then this, okay, cool. And if that's the percentage, that's a pretty bad percentage. So, I don't think it's very effective. And also, you could say Ubuntu Mate Welcome is also kind of not effective in certain cases. It is kind of excessive in certain areas. It's fantastic in other areas, but like there are certain things that's kind of weird.
I think their software boutique is awesome.
It is fantastic. I think so too. I've actually contributed to it, code-wise and software-wise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, software boutique is fantastic. Yeah, and Rocco got to experience the time where I contributed something he wanted and didn't know it was already there.
Yeah. That was awesome. Hey, I didn't know. Who would know it's there? I mean, I'm not maybe the developer should have put something in there to say that it's there. Otherwise, who's going to know?
What person are you talking about?
I mean, I don't know who would be ridiculous enough to not add a feature and then let somebody know that it's there. Just add it. Randomly add some
video. Thank you.
Randomly add some great feature to an OS and then just not tell anybody. I mean, really?
So what happened was, I forgot that part.
And which application are we talking about?
Well, in this case, this is not an application. This is a feature that the software boutique had an issue where I first saw this a while ago, and actually it was like I think a year before you had the problem with it, and I had already done it like a year before. But it was like when you look at it, it only shows a few items. Like it's like 2 or 3 in the very beginning, and then you maximize it height wise, and there's 5, and then you maximize it full wise, and it's 5. Yeah, and it's 5 still, and I thought that was terrible. So I was like, there should be a grid column structure, and then I built it and I contributed, and they added it, and it was there. But we didn't tell anybody it was there. People didn't open that window.
So I come along and I review, the Ubuntu Mate, and I talk about the software boutique, and I'm like, well, it would be cool if there was like a grid view here because this is ridiculous. You can only see a couple icons. So then when Martin Wimpers was on Destination Linux, I said to him, it would be great if you had this. And he says, well, I'll tell you what. You got it in front of you? I'm like, no. He's like, next time you're in it, just full screen it. It'll be there. Well,
I remember watching that on Destination Linux.
You should have just put it in there that it was there, dude. A button. Just
There-
put
there
a
is a
grid
technical
button there
aspect
for
of why
crying
it
out
couldn't
loud.
be. Like there is.
I open it up in full screen by default.
I don't have an answer for that one.
Then you know it's there. And then you know it's there. Then you can drop it down again.
It was an oversight by the developer. I'm just saying.
The first thing wasn't. Why I didn't think of just asking them making it maximized by default, like you just said, like that is an oversight.
Yes, that's an oversight.
Never thought of it until just now, and I didn't even think of it. So, okay, fair enough there. But the problem with the displaying a button for it, he was saying they should have a button you click and it makes a grid thing. Like you couldn't do that because the way to do it was like sending a signal to the window manager from web code, because Software Boutique and Ubuntu Monte is built on web code. So CSS, HTML, stuff like that, and JavaScript. And JavaScript doesn't really have the ability to say, unless the DE implements something to utilize it, which I don't think Monte had. Unless they did, at the time it didn't for sure. You couldn't send a signal out of the interface of the web interface and then affect the window manager controls. So the only way you could do it is if the window manager itself moved it and maximized it, and then the website would go, "Oh, you just maximized our window. We will adjust accordingly."
Yeah.
So it wasn't really possible. It could have been a button that said grid, that just log grid view, and you clicked it and it says, "Hey, tricked you, but it is there. Just maximize the window." I could have done that, and I didn't think about that either until I didn't even think about someone wanting it without maximizing. I didn't even talk about that. I just I maximized it automatically, and it didn't do what I wanted, and I made it do what I wanted, and then it's like everybody does what I do. What are you talking about?
Right. Sure. Everybody knows that. Everybody knew there was a maximize button.
There was a maximize button. Just things and such. I don't know. Sometimes developers don't think about, even as a designer and a user experience guy, I think about this stuff all the time, and I'll still miss things like that. Like, I thought it was terrible that UX didn't do that, and I was like, I'm going to make it do that, and then I didn't think about it might be terrible that people didn't know that it did that. I'm like, there's a balancing act there a little bit, but DX9C via wine is a new option. Why can't you install DX9C via wine as a menu option in Linux Steam native client? Because it's up to the Steam client to support that as an additional application. You may be able to do that, but it's probably a Steam issue, not necessarily a wine issue.
All right, gents. Well, it is 2:37 here, so I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate both of you stopping by.
Sounds good. I'm going to call it a Rocket League.
Okay. If I didn't have to get up tomorrow, I'd call it a Rocket League too.
See ya.
All right, see you.
All right, see you guys.